Advisory Plan Commission meeting. This time, we will have our roll call. Nathan Bush.
Here.
Charlie Canary.
Here.
Greg Cantwell.
Here.
Pete Ketchum via Zoom, correct?
Here.
John Schilling.
Here.
Patrick Cotter. Here. Do we have Ron West?
Yes.
Okay, and Chad Bowman is present. I am the vice chairman of this board, just so everyone is aware, and I am filling in for Dan Cartwright. And Dan Cartwright will no longer be on the plan commission. We're going to address that under new business tonight after the public hearings. But just for information purposes, that's what's going on with that. Board members have been mailed the minutes from last month's meeting. You should have all gotten those in a timely manner, able to review those. If there are any additions or corrections to the minutes, right now would be the time to do so. If not, a motion to approve and or deny.
Second.
We have a movement by John Schilling, a second by Pat Vercotteren. All those in favor, use your usual voting sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, that's going to go to our public hearings. First case up. Okay. Tonight, under the new hearings portion of our meeting, I am going to ask the audience now if there is anyone here who is opposed to the Tiermann minor subdivision, the Blackwell waiver, or the Townsend waiver. Is there anybody here to speak in opposition of any of those three cases? If there is not, we are going to go with those three cases first. Then we will do the P-2-20, which is Eagle Springs major subdivision. And then we will do the Z-1-21, which is waiver rezoning. So, first up for tonight will be M-1-21, Tiermann minor subdivision.
Michelle, I may have gotten a little bit of out of order here, and I apologize if I did. You and I had talked about there being a potential request for continuance.
Yes, there's a remonstrator that's asked for another continuance for P-2-20. The automatic continuance was used up for the January hearing, so it's not an automatic continuance. It has to be for just cause, and it's up to the board to decide and hear and vote on it. I don't know if you guys wanted to address that continuance first and then move on to the regular new business.
Commissioners, may I say a word quickly? My name's
No. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that then. Let's hear the case for the continuance.
So you want to hear it from the guy who's requesting it?
If the gentleman's here, yes.
Yeah, that was me. My name is Mike Red.
Could you please come to the lectern and state your name and address?
Sure. My name is Mike Red, last name spelled R-E-D. We're actually not requesting another continuance. I sent an email last week saying that we anticipated doing that, but once we realized everybody was planning on being here, we decided it was better to move the hearing. So we are not requesting any more continuances.
Thank you, sir,
Thank
for the clarification. Okay, so let's go to M-1-21, Tiermann Minor Subdivision. Michelle, the floor is yours.
It is the JC, February.
JC, okay.
Good evening, Michelle Hanser, Senior Planning Manager, Johnson County Planning and Zoning. The first petition is M-1-21, Tiermann Minor Subdivision at 6982 South 125 West Trafalgar. There we go. Okay, they are requesting approval of preliminary plat for a 2-lot residential minor subdivision called Tiermann Minor Subdivision. The property is 10 acres located in Nineveh Township. It is zoned RR, rural residential. It is surrounded by large acres of tract of land of similar size, used residentially and agriculturally. Here is a close-up shot of the 10-acre existing tract. The current property is accessed through an easement from the tract that serves as west of this current property. This is a view of the property. These are pictures from when we heard this in a waiver, so there is no snow on the ground and it looks a little bit warmer. This is the driveway to the back of the current residential structure. There is a residential structure and 2 accessory structures on this property. This is a view of the property from the road, 125, and then across the street. And then this would be a look of the field of the proposed new lot of the subdivision. This is a bird's eye view of the property. As you would see, this is okay, sorry. Trying to. So that was a bird's eye view of the property. That was just trying to show you the residential structure and then the agricultural field in front. So they are requesting approval of preliminary plat for 2-lot residential minor subdivision called the Tiermann Minor Subdivision. On September 28, 2020, the Planning Commission granted 1 waiver from the subdivision control ordinance to allow for a 2-lot minor subdivision. It was to allow for 1 lot to have 50 feet of road frontage and a minimum width of 50 feet. The requirement for rural residential is 100 feet of road frontage with a lot width of 208. This is the proposed plat of the subdivision. As you can see, the back lot will service the existing house and the accessory structures, and the lot 2 is for the forward field that will serve for a new home. The home, it will access from its own individual driveway from 125 West. You clicking?
No.
Sorry. Okay, I just didn't know if I should just, okay. So here's a proposal. They have a preliminary proposal of a single-family home right here with septic systems that have been reviewed by the health department, soil test. So both houses will be served by private septic systems and will be actually on the Princess Lake water utilities. There will be only 1 additional driveway along 125 for the new home. Since the time of the staff report, we have received approval from all the checkpoint agencies listed in the staff report and on the technical review memo. This minor plat was also approved by the Drainage Board on February 2nd, 2021. Proposed plat does meet all the subdivision control ordinance standards and all the zoning ordinance standards, so the staff recommends approval.
Board members have any questions for staff? Thank you, Michelle. Is the petitioner here?
I believe they're on.
Yes, this is Brad Ott, the agent and land surveyor for the petitioner, and they are in attendance online. You can see Patty Tiermann's name So they're available to help me answer questions if we need their help.
All right, Mr. Wyatt, let's get you all sworn in, and then we'll go from there.
And before we swear you in, I just want to verify again that is there anyone here in the audience wishing to speak for or against, particularly against this petition? All right, seeing none, I will proceed with swearing in the petitioner. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And also, just for clarification, before you speak, if you could give your name and address for the record, much appreciated.
Yes. My name is Brad Ott, OTT, with Main Street Consulting Company here in Franklin at 675 North Main Street, the intergalactic corporate headquarters with the white picket fence. We are helping Bob and Patty Tiermann through this process so that they could build a single-story home on the front 5 acres, so that Bob, with no stairs. Bob has raised his family on the house that he built 30 years ago on the 10 acres. And he'd like to stay in the neighborhood with all of his neighbors and just move out front. That's the short version. And if they've got any questions, I'll try to answer. And if we need Bob and Patty's help, they can help as well. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Ott?
Yeah, I do. Is this for one residence, Brad, or the map I'm looking at, the supporting data plan, it says possible future location of proposed residence. Is that for another one at some point in time?
No, that represents where Bob wants to build. Bob and Patty want to build this one house.
Once you cross the driveway to the north, then there's a square.
No, it's to the east. Maybe our north arrow was turned wrong. The property runs long and skinny east to west, and their existing house is in the middle of the 10, and they want to build over on the east edge of the east 5 acres, right up by the county road.
Okay, Michelle said that's possible. What I'm looking at is maybe a barn across the drive from that post house.
Was that Charlie? I did not hear that. Was that for me?
Across that new drive to the new proposed house, I think Michelle said that may be a barn that I'm looking at.
Oh, right. We're going to build a house and a swimming pool and a barn.
Okay.
For that. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Board members have any more questions for the petitioner? Mr. Ott, do either of the Tiermanns have anything they'd like to add?
I do not, and I doubt they do. If they do, they can turn the video and microphone on now.
Seeing no more, I will thank you. Is she coming on?
Yeah, she turned the video on. Patty, turn your microphone on if there's something you want to say. Otherwise, you can turn the video off, and that'll indicate that you have nothing to say. Technology.
We don't really have anything else. I think Brad answered, everything unless somebody else has a question. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
Well, pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, based on the finding of fact on this case, I would move for
Mr. Canary for the second.
I'll tell you what.
Making my $75 here.
Our
I'm making my $75 here.
staff now, and is that your intention to include that in your?
I get paid for planning and zoning meetings.
Mr. Goddard made to approve and accept findings of fact. Mr. Canary, you good with that still for the second?
Yeah.
Roll call vote, Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mr. Canary,
Yes.
Mr. Cantwell,
Yes.
Mr. Ketchum,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Mr. McCollum,
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
I vote yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up for this evening, W-4-21, that is the Blackwell waiver. Michelle, the floor is yours.
W-4-21, approximately at 3401 South Nenham Road, Franklin. The applicant and property owner is Austin Blackwell. He is the same one. Excuse me, he's seeking a waiver from the Johnson County Subdivision Control Ordinance to provide for a 3-lot roadside subdivision where the subdivision is of a non-original lot of record and B with 2 lots having an area of 3 and 5 acres. Any new lots created with the roads and subdivision must be exactly 2 acres in size. Better. Okay. All right. The property is located in Nineveh Township. It is 70 acres, zoned A1 agricultural. It is surrounded by all 4 sides by large tracts of land used agriculturally with an occasional single-family home. All the properties are zoned A1. This is a aerial shot of show the large tract of land that surrounds this tract of land. A closer view of the agricultural field is an unimproved with no structures currently on this piece of 70-acre tract. This is a bird's eye view of one portion of the property and another portion of the property. If you can tell from the pictures of snow-covered land, as you can see, is rolling hills, and there is a lot of difference in this area. Half of the property is actually in the flood zone. Here's the open fields. As I said, they are seeking a roadside subdivision. Their property was 70 acres. They are seeking 2 waivers. One is that they're dividing the tract of land that's not original tract of land that dates prior to February 19th, 2003. And they're also requesting 2 lots that exceed the size restrictions of 2 acres. To address the original lot of record, as all agricultural land must be to prevent multiple divisions of land, we try to make sure that the land at least dates back to the 2003, which was the adoption of this subdivision control limits. This property was about 135 acres originally prior to 2003. In 2018, they split off the southern portion, 33 acres, to an individual, and that is currently, I think, has an active building permit for a house. It's just when I was by the site, there was no active construction of the snow. And then the northern portion of the property is 20 acres. That was a split that created as 20 acres, 21 acres, and 70 acres. The original lot owners do attain this current 21 acres. That 21 acres does have a homestead site and agricultural bonds on it. So overall, just kind of the density, if you look at the 2 approved splits, there are 3 dwellings on overall that could be today with the 3 tracts of land. So it's 1 house per 45 acres. With the roadside proposal and the 2 splits, 5 dwellings overall, so it's 1 house per 27 acres. The roadside alone, just the 70 acres involved, they those lots, 1 house per 28 acres. That is well above the recommended density of agricultural zone. I believe the request to divide a non-original lot record is within the comprehensive plan recommendation and recommend approval of that waiver. The other waiver was the 2 acres. To preserve agricultural the most that we can, we allow divisions of land of agriculture to be 2 acres in size, nothing more, nothing less. It is what is needed for a septic and a house. The applicant is wanting to create 2 lots, basically 1 lot for himself and 1 lot for a family member. He is going to create a lot for himself to build a house. His proposal is the 3-acre tract in the middle of the property. As you can see in the staff report, I did show, kind of the red line is what would be a 2-acre approved. The green is their proposal 3. They were trying to utilize a hill for the house on the topography of this land, and then also the flat area for a septic system. And then there also is a current driveway they may or may not use depending on the driveway requirements of site visibility. So they're just asking for a deviation to increase to allow the use of the topography of the land for a better home site and septic system. He was going to retain the rest of the 60 acres, but for mortgage purposes, it's easier to finance 3 acres than 60. The southern portion request is a 5-acre tract of land. This is for a family member that is actually trying to use that land agriculturally. It's for livestock, not a major livestock operation, but a livestock operation, so that 2 acres does not serve their needs to provide land for their agricultural purposes that they wish to have on their own property. I believe those deviations, I was trying to show you, I think that you could actually see better with your eyes. Unfortunately, when you're on the land, there is a flat piece of land that's a hill that goes to the house. So staff believes that the 2 waiver requests for the roadside subdivisions as well with the minor deviation from our intent of our regulations. So staff recommends approval.
Board members have any questions for staff?
This parcel, the 5 acres to the south. Where does that come out to that ditch there? Include part of that? There's an open ditch along the road.
I didn't, they might be able to answer that more than I am. I was out there, but I just didn't visually, visually through that ditch. Yeah.
Any more questions for staff? Thank you, Michelle. Okay, anyone who's here to speak for and or against this request, via online or in person, please raise your right hand, take the oath of witness.
Okay. You say right there for now, or anyone else who wishes to speak. I see another hand back here. Are you in favor or against? You're in favor? Okay. Anybody against? All right. Just want to confirm that. Please raise your right hand. Take the oath of witness. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm in perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you.
Okay, when you come up, if you could approach the lectern and state your name and address for the record. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my name is Austin Blackwell. I'm asking to do this about the property. My current address is 4028 West 300 South, Indiana. I guess I just wanted to, Michelle covered everything very well. The only reason we're asking for the 3 acres is the roll of that ground. 2 would be extremely tight, so I figured it would be better to ask you guys for 3 out of here a day. I think I just did my own to find the house. And I did have a guy come out to look at the septic, and that property in the middle of that ground is the best spot in that field. We believe, we haven't finished the testing, depending on what happens here tonight. But so that's kind of the reason for that 3, only for a mortgage purpose. I have a mortgage right now, and most banks with construction loans are 63 acres. They don't like doing both, so just from the needs standpoint there. But that 3 plus the remaining 62 acres, I plan to keep one thing, and will all be my farm. And we plan to do it for a long time. As far as the south side, we're just looking for 5 acres for my parents. My dad and I kind of run cattle and do hay together. We got a couple little kids. It would be very nice to continue doing agriculture together with him and having him up there close as far as that goes in the long run. It's a little bit of an odd shape, but in that back corner, we actually do own part of the creek that runs there. So from the septic system, it would be a long haul down that side, but he can run his own perimeter drain on his lot, not needing easements for Middle Creek. So some things like that, just trying to keep that very simple down there. So, as far as the best side on the south, on the top of that hill, all that we provide.
Board members have any questions for Mr. Blackwell?
So that South Carpenter, does it go up to that ditch, or do they include part of it, or?
To my knowledge, Charlie, and I have to look at it, it's pretty much right on the line. I don't believe it includes, I think that open ditch will start just north of where we're asking about that line.
I think we're including that. That's it. Or-
Yeah, I mean, we would ask to put a driveway to the south of it, but as far as touching that open ditch, no, we would not do anything with that, correct?
Any more questions, Mr. Blackwell, from the board? The other gentlemen have anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I'll speak for him. My name's John Canary. My address is 2318 East, 300 South, Franklin, Indiana. I just want to say real quick on Austin's behalf, I was adamant, very vocal against the last proposed waiver that came through on the north end of this Flynn property. That was prime farm ground. This down on this end is not prime farm ground. I mean, this is where we need to build houses. So I run cattle on the south side of that property, and then I farm on the west side of the end of the road. I just want to say, like I said, I was strongly against what was being done on the north side of 300 South, but there's nothing wrong with this. But to answer the question about the open ditch would start just south of that proposed property line, because my drainage from the farm on the west side comes under the road, and then that just answers that question. This is what that ground needs. I mean, it's not prime farm ground up on the hills. Thank you.
Board members have any more questions for Mr. Blackwell, staff, etc.? There are no more questions. A motion would be in order one way or another. I move for approval.
You'd like to include the
Yes, I do.
findings of fact?
Second.
Everybody understands the motion. Mr. Schilling, your motion. Do you have anything you'd like to add on it? Mr. Carter, your second. Anything?
No.
Anyone else from the board? Bowman votes yes. Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Canary? Mr. Cantwell?
Yes.
Ketchum?
Yes.
Mr. Schilling?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is W-5-21, the Townsend Way. Michelle, once again, the floor is yours.
W-5-21 at 433 West 375 South, Caliber. The property owner is Lee Townsend. He is represented by Ellen May Pierce, which is his district. They are seeking a waiver from the subdivision control ordinance to provide for a two-lot roadside subdivision where the parent tract is 9.33 acres in plot. The requirement for roadside is the minimum parent tract needs to be 12 acres or more. The property is in Plymouth Township and it's 9.33 acres in size. It's on a front and is approved for one single family dwelling and several accessory structures. The site is surrounded to the north and east by similar smaller sized parcels used residentially. To the south and west are large tracts of land used agriculturally and residential, all of them A1. Here is the 9-acre tract to show the single family residential structure and the accessory barns on the property. Here is a bird's eye view of the property with the accessory structure and the single family dwelling. Here is it's heavily wooded over in this area. This is a view from the road. This is the east portion of the property that is wooded. The house is currently right there. The sun is blocking the view of everything else, but there is an accessory structure to that. As stated, they are seeking a waiver to provide this property as a roadside subdivision. The criteria to be a roadside subdivision, the parent tract must be 9 acres or 12 acres, sorry. The parent tract here is 9.3. They are proposing just 2 lots overall. an existing house in the, accessory structures would be on lot 1, that's maybe between 6.8 acres in size. And then lot 2 would be between 2 and 2.5 acres in size. This is, since the 12-acre tract would be able to divide into 4 lots overall. They're only proposing 2 lots of 9 acres. I believe the density is well above the recommended density of agricultural area of this area. I try to bold the parcel lines. As you can see throughout the streets, respective street, there are very similar sized parcels in the proposal. There is a roadside right here that has 2 acres. These both are about 5 acres, around 5 acres or more and such. So the proposal is within lines of what's existing around that area. So I believe that their request is a minor deviation, and the staff recommends approval.
Board members have any questions for staff? Michelle? Is the petitioner in the room? Hey, anyone else here to speak for and or against this case? Please raise your right hand to take the oath of witness.
I see 2 persons with their hands up. You, sir, are you planning to speak against or in favor? Okay, you're in favor? All right, thank you. You take the oath of witness. You and each of you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Okay, you can come up to the lectern, and if you could please state your name and address for the record, it would be much appreciated.
My name's Ellen Ferris. I was here last week. It's what happens when you retire. I am representing my brother, Lee Townsend. He signed a consent to do that. He has a medical condition that makes it very uncomfortable for him to be out in public. He is seeking to sell off his acreage to my nephew. And we would like to be able to do that when he has some financial help situation.
My name is Matthew Baker, and like he said, I am the buyer.
Yeah, he wants the woods. I didn't tell you my address, that I'm 265 East and South Franklin.
2301 Fox Drive, Franklin.
So any questions?
Board members have any questions for the petitioner? None. Questions? Board members have any questions for staff? Petitioners, anything else you might like to add? Thank you. Well, what is the board's pleasure in this case?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the 2 lots and the petitioner's finding of fact as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Goddard, seconded by Mr. Schilling. Everyone understand the motion? Mr. Goddard, it is your motion. Is there anything you'd like to add? Mr. Schilling, anything you'd like to add? Board members, anything they would like to add? Roll call vote. Mr. Canary.
Yes.
Mr. Cantwell.
Yes.
Mr. Ketchum.
Yes.
Mr. Schilling. Yes. Mr. Goddard.
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Bowman votes yes. Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't intend to speak.
Okay. The next case is going to be P-2-20. Council is going to make a small statement just so everyone is clear.
This petition is one for approval of a preliminary plat. And as such, it is subject to state legal requirements and standards, both for the approval of that plat as well as denial of that plat. And we want to make sure that everyone is clear what those legal standards are, particularly since there is significant remonstrance in this case. To be clear, approval or denial of a plat is based on whether a plat satisfies the express requirements of the subdivision control ordinance. That also means that objections to the plat and its approval should be based upon specific subdivision control ordinance sections. So that are at issue. More specifically, opinions only are not sufficient for the basis for denying a plat petition. Any deficiencies or claims of deficiencies in the plat petition need to be supported by substantial evidence. They have to be supported by a substantial basis, in fact, and not again based upon your opinion. I wanted to make those things clear. Also, I want to make sure that everyone understands some of the rules of procedure involving hearings. And I'll just read from the rules of procedure, 3 paragraphs. All commentary at a public hearing shall be addressed to the commission through its chairman. Such commentary shall not be permitted between opposing parties without consent from the chairman. The chairman shall have the authority to prohibit repetitious and irrelevant testimony and shall have the authority to limit the length of testimony by each speaker deemed appropriate to a fair public hearing. And finally, every person appearing before the commission shall abide by the order and direction of the chairman. Discourteous, disorderly, or contemptuous conduct shall not be tolerated, and the chairman may take such action as is deemed necessary to prevent such conduct. And I will add that from a timing standpoint, the petitioner initially has 15 minutes to present the case. Remonstrators then have a total of 20 minutes together to present their case and comments. And then the petitioner gets an opportunity to respond for 5 minutes. And that is the organization of the case.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have to recuse myself from this petition.
Okay,
As well as me.
so Mr. McCall, or Mr. Schilling and Mr. West have both recused themselves from this. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a procedural question, please?
yes,
Mr. Chairman, I'm quoting from Plan Commission's Rules of Procedure, Article 4, Section 1, Paragraph C, Romanet 1. It says that after the petitioner presents the case for 15 minutes, a reasonable additional time may then be allowed for cross-examination and redirect of the petitioner's witness by commission members. I'm curious to know if we could have an opportunity to ask a couple of cross-examination questions after the petitioner finishes their presentation.
No more here.
usually the way that it works, or in the past, is that the petitioner will present their case initially, and then the remonstrators collectively will be able to present their case, ask their questions, do whatever, and then with the additional time that the petitioner gets after the remonstrators, they will have that time to potentially address concerns, questions, whatnot.
Thank you.
Everyone who is here, does everyone who is here understand how this case is going to work? Remonstrators, people who are opposed to this petition, you will have 20 minutes collectively. That means all of you can talk for 1 minute, or one of you can talk for 20 minutes. We have to be civil. We have to try to be civil and work it out amongst ourselves. Suggestion I would have, you don't have, I'm just throwing it out there, but if you have someone that everyone feels is better versed in what the group collectively might like to say, you might try to find a spokesperson before it comes time. Because there's a lot of people here, and there's a lot of things to be said, I'm sure. But like I said, 20 minutes to do so. That being said, let's go to case P-2-20, Eagle Springs Major Sub. Michelle, the floor is yours.
P-2-20, Eagle Springs Major Subdivision, preliminary plat.
It's 91.6 acres. There is a house at this location that is 4444 West Stones Crossing Road. They are requesting, the applicant is Lennar Homes of Indiana. They are requesting approval of the preliminary plat of a 154 lot residential major subdivision called Eagle Springs. The parcel is located in White River Township. It is 91.6 acres. It is zoned R1, single family residential. This is the parcel. It is surrounded, it is abuts to 3 major subdivisions and 1 minor subdivision. Here is West Stones Crossings, and to the west is Morgantown Road. This is a little bit closer up view of the property. There is a lake run stream that runs through the kind of the middle of the property with the heavily wooded areas. There is a single family home with several accessory barns on the property. This is the view of the driveway from Stones Crossing Road. This is a view looking east. There is a little bit more view of the single family home and dwellings that they are going to be removed with this development. They are not staying to be incorporated into development. This is a view of near the houses towards the west, showing the neighborhood that it abuts to. This is looking a little bit farther west of the property, north of the property. This is actually across Stones Crossing Roads to the residential development that is on the south side. Here is the zoning map just to show that there are 2 major subdivisions, but to the west side, they actually are zoned R2, which is a higher density classification. This property and the property north to it and the minor plat next to it and east of it is zoned R1. The remaining land is zoned R2. They are Lennar Homes, again, is requesting approval of a preliminary plat that provides for 154 lots, residential lots. This is the proposed plat is in the staff report. I believe you guys got a run by things as well. I tried to flip it, enlarge it just a little bit for a little bit more view on the PowerPoint. That you guys can refer to your staff report for more details. It is proposed to be developed in 3 sections. They are proposing 23.2 acres to be dedicated to common area. That majority of it is the existing wooded areas in the lake run that meanders through it. The proposed plat does comply with the recently amended R1 zoning district standards. The minimum lot size will be about 12,600 square feet, with the majority of lots having an area of 1,360 square feet. The average lot will be 90 feet in width, with a building area of 70 feet in width. That accommodates the 10-foot side setbacks on each side. The proposal will include sidewalks that run within the internal roadway system, and then they're also going to build a small portion of the 10-foot shared trail along the western crossing that the 91 acres encompass. It is recommended in the Johnson County Master Trail Plan that is on the north side of Stone Crossing to be a multi-purpose trail system. As stated before, this property is zoned R1, a single family. R1 is defined in the residential. The zoning ordinance is average density of 2 dwellings per acre. Built out when you take the 91.6 acres as a total and divide by 154, that is 1.68 dwellings per acre. The property will be served by Greenwood Sanitation, where the Western Regional Interceptor will be ready for additional hookups. The proposed density is very similar to the neighborhoods with close proximity. Then, as the chart that you guys see in the staff report and on the PowerPoint, the majority of these subdivisions were built in 1980, 1990s. Usually, those developments, especially on drainage, have less stringent drainage standards that we use today. The chart below does illustrate, or the chart above, sorry, does illustrate the characteristics of the major residential subdivisions near the proposed Eagle Springs. As you can see, so everything that you see colored and in your staff report are all the subdivisions that I've applied to that chart that you guys see. As you can see, there are 4 subdivisions within the area that have actually a higher density than the proposal. I did calculate the proposal, or sorry, the density is similar to how I calculated Eagle Springs. So the entire boundary of the subdivision divided by the lots that are platted. That includes the internal roadway systems and any common areas. Like I said, these subdivisions that were proposed in the 80s and 90s are not the same how we design subdivisions now. As you can see, they have 23 acres reserved in common area that is for the detention system mostly in the preserve the wetland area. The only one of the other subdivisions had about 12 acres of common area. The rest of them had less than 1 acre. And as you can see, so Hunters Point, which is directly north, doesn't have a single detention pond, as you can see. So this is so obviously common space, common area is not present in this subdivision. As you can see on the other subdivisions, instead of dedicating a common area for the detention system, all the proposed lots go through the pond and divided equally. So as I said, when we did the comparison of density, we use it as the entire boundary of that proposed or that subdivision's boundaries and divided by the lots that are within that subdivision. So the numbers are comparable. One of the conditions and that Lennar Homes has agreed to is that they will build their homes to the standards that we have recently approved by the Plan Commission as our design standards. I cleaned up some of the PowerPoint that you guys can see the details of all the design standards that they proposed. Mostly I want to point out to the Sierra materials. Only the rear can have up to 40% of EPIS of a heavy grade vinyl. The rest of the properties, the houses have to be worked down, masonry, wood siding, cement based siding, wood engineered siding, metal, stucco. As you can see, number D, it limits the vinyl siding to permitted only in the dwelling rear elevation and may only have 40% of that elevation. So all 3 sides will be of other materials that we list A through D or A through C that are permitted exterior materials. We do ask for windows at least 2 per floor per elevation. We have a minimum 12-inch eaves. The roofs are standard asphalt shingles with a 6-12 slope. We do allow other architectural roofs, attached garages. No more than 40% of the garage can take up the front elevation of the front facing garage. And then architectural diversity, there is a clause for the same floor plan and no more than 30% of the lots on a block may be developed in primary dwelling building model. And then fences, we do require chain link fences to be vinyl coated with black or green. Also, we put that provision that the fences may be erected in drainage and utility easements to help with the drainage system as proposed. This is a diagram to show you the road connectivity. They are proposed to, as encouraged by the Plan Commission and the comprehensive plan in the subdivision control, they are connecting to existing streets that have dead end on the other existing subdivisions. The The red circles are connection points that they will connect within their subdivision to the existing subdivisions. The green is the general area where they'll provide their own stuff to the land to the east for the future redevelopment of that land in the near future, or not in the far future, as a new subdivision as well. As you can see, it is a common practice to encourage connectivity throughout subdivisions. The yellows kind of show existing points that two subdivisions abut each other that have connected streets. There are several subdivisions that connect. That is a common practice that we always encourage subdivisions to connect those streets that once were dead end. This went to a technical review meeting on September 9th, 2020. The plat does satisfy all the comments made at the technical review committee. It did go to the drainage board for preliminary drainage approval, and they received that approval on January 5th, 2021. We have received approval from all the other checkpoints we received of the proposed preliminary plat. The next step, just to technicality, as just to inform other folks of what the next steps for a preliminary plat. So each section is required to submit construction plans that are reviewed by the technical review committee and the drainage board. Those are construction plans and drainage, more detailed drainage plans as well. Then the construction is, if those are approved and they meet all their criteria, they are final platted bond. We accept the improvements at the board of commissioners before construction of the home starts. So as far as the plan commission hearing, there are no other plan commission hearing requirements at this point if they move forward with the construction plans. They will have during board hearings. So staff has reviewed this preliminary plat, and it meets all the criteria of the subdivision control ordinance and the zoning ordinance as well. We have two conditions. One condition of the development is within the subdivision shall be holding to the residential design standards that were added on January 1st, 2021 as an amendment to the Johnson County zoning ordinance. And then there was a condition that after discussing with the highway department, we have amended it a little bit. So number one of my conditions in the staff report is amended to say that further requirements of the Johnson County Highway Department, the improvement plan for stone crossing roads at the subdivision interest must be approved by the highway department with construction plans in the first phase of development. If additional land is necessary, those improvements and easement deeds or dedication shall be established before the release of construction and approval of construction plans. That just kind of gives them a little bit more room to work with, not just saying that they have to acquire all the land they need on the south side for a right of way or a passing blister. If they can't get it or it's not feasible, then they're able to do more improvements towards the north of their side of the end of the stone crossings and do something that the highway department would review and approve.
Board members have any questions for Michelle, for staff?
Yeah, Michelle, I did have just one point. I guess one of the issues I had was, like you mentioned on the one slide, the density of houses per acre. The platted common area acreage, I understand, use the whole overall acreage when dividing it out. That platted common area is a significantly higher percentage than any of the other surrounding subdivisions. And the average lot size is significantly smaller. If you remove that platted common area, which I assume a lot of the common areas are removed because it is poorly drained, that comes to a density of 2.25 houses per acre, which is significantly higher than the what the comprehensive plan has in store. So I just wanted to bring that point to light. That was one issue I had, and I thought the number of lots seems to be a little on the high side for the number of acres.
Yes, but when we calculate density, we have to take into consideration the common area as well, because it is part of the development. Like I tried to show the example, they weren't usually dedicated as common areas back in the early days, but now it serves it better for development to have it as a common area that is controlled by an HOA so they can make sure that that detention pond is operating the way it's supposed to, and residents don't modify it to suit their needs and develop on it. So you have, when you have to do density, you have to take into consideration the full development, and choose the right ways that they're proposing, the roads, the sidewalks, and the common areas that serve this subdivision. Once those common areas are platted, you can't divide those anymore. So it's not like we're taking all that common area out and reserving it on future development. It is dedicated and will not be developed.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just and you'll still end up with a smaller lot size than any of the surrounding subdivisions, unfortunately. And I just think that might lead to potentially lower values and just really small, tight lots that don't fit the area. That's my only point. That's maybe a little opinion on that.
Board members have any more questions for staff?
Yeah, I have one for staff. Somewhere I read this and I cannot find it now, but the traffic on Stones Crossing Road, if I read that right somewhere. The overall plan was Stones Crossing Road would be a 3-lane.
There is a memo from the highway department on traffic on page 21 that speaks about the traffic and the level of service that road is set up for. As far as improvements,
Somewhere I read that was a planned improvement, to be a 3-lane or both of the 2-lane, 1-lane got considered. I don't know that, but it said that most priority.
that might have been in the the White River Township amendment. The comprehensive plan, it might have been mentioned in there, but I would have to refer with the highway department.
My question was, did this change priority?
I would have to refer with the highway department.
Board members have any more questions for staff?
I apologize. I have two letters of remonstrators that I did not get with the board subdivision.
Yeah, can we pass those out after the petitioner speaks? Board members, any more questions for staff? Okay. Chris.
None.
None? Okay. Anybody who is here to speak for and or against this petition, please rise, raise your right hand, and take the oath of the witness. If you do not take the oath of the witness, you will not be allowed to speak. So if you think there might be something you want to say, if there might be some time that you think you might have a chance to get up and say something and you might want to, you should take the oath of the witness. Because if you do not, you will not be allowed to speak.
Raise your right hand. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm under penalties for perjury that the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to emphasize this one more time, just so everybody knows. The petitioner will have an initial 15 minutes. Remonstrators collectively will have 20 minutes. And the petitioner will get an additional 5 minutes. We're going to have to hold stringent to the times, just so everybody is completely aware. So at this time, the petitioner is here. You will hear from them. They come to the lectern, state their name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Am I okay with taking my mask off while I speak?
As so long as the people in the front desk are all right with it, I'm okay with it.
I'm okay leaving it on, with whatever your preference. Everyone else.
Okay. Also, I'm just to let everybody know, I'm going to give time counts when the remonstrators start. I will give it every 5 minutes. I'll give a time count so everybody's aware of how much time is left.
We're having trouble hearing through the mask. If you could enunciate, that would be appreciated. Can you hear me through the mask? We're having trouble hearing it through the mask.
Are you referring to the chairman or the petitioner?
Petitioner.
He's gonna remove his
He may
mask.
remove his mask.
You can go ahead and remove his mask.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Watson, members of the Planning Commission, good evening. My name is Brian Chewy. I address 50 South Meridian. I represent Lennar Homes of Indiana. And here with me tonight is Keith Flash of Lennar Homes and Ty Reinhardt of Lennar Homes and Bob Staten of our engineer. In these extraordinary circumstances, we all find ourselves in. Thank you for that. Actual life. Michelle was nice enough to download a quick PowerPoint, which I'll, with the permission of the chair, I'll show you folks. So Lennar Homes is a company that's been building homes in central Indiana since 1974. We built about 1,300 homes in Indiana last year. They're publicly traded. They're a large builder. In some measurements, the largest builder in the United States. But all their homes, they design locally. They have local architects that work here and design homes that hopefully fit in the Indianapolis and the metropolitan area around Indianapolis. This site, that's what I just said to you. This site is a 91-acre site, as Michelle indicated. This address is 4444 West Astonis Crossing Road. And it's what the proposal is it's not rezoning anything, it's already zoned R1. The proposal is to allow for a preliminary plat, request preliminary plat approval for about 154 single-family homes. And I agree with the density calculation of Michelle. I also agree with the Planning Commission member who said that there's different calculations these days. In fact, I think some of the lots in the other subdivision might go all the way into the center of those ponds. So it's a different way of calculating density, but these lots meet the new enhanced, in fact, exceed new enhanced R1 development standards, the lots as proposed by Lennar. As you can see, the subdivision it's kind of an area that is no longer probably good for farm. It's surrounded on four sides by residential subdivisions. And in this case, the zoning is R1. We're not requesting any waivers, we're not requesting any contingencies or variances of the standards. We meet the concrete standards of the ordinance. I think that's reflected in your staff report. The lot width requirement is 90 feet. And the minimum homes for 2 stories is 2,400 square feet. Minimum home size for 1 story is 1,600 square feet. We're actually going to build homes bigger than that, and I'll get to that in a minute. People have asked when we start construction. Well, construction is really going to be kind of keyed against when we would have the sanitary sewer interceptor project, when that would be completed. And we expect that maybe at the end of this year or into next year, we're not sure. But when the sewer gets there, that's when we start construction. We think it would take 4 to 5 years to build this out. Our site plan, again, is all single family residential. There is common area of about 22 acres. And this shows how it would lay in with the other subdivisions around us. We do provide for connectivity to the other subdivisions, which I think is part of your subdivision control ordinance. There's a street called Running Brook Terrace, Brent Ridge Parkway, and Cobblestone Way. We would provide connections to all those subdivisions as shown on this preliminary plat. This case has been going on for a while. We appreciate the patience of the Planning Commission. We've had a chance to work with our neighbors and meet them on a couple of different occasions. We filed this case back in October of 2020. We had a couple of neighborhood meetings. We tried to address their concerns. We had one actually live, Dies Walk, and then we had another meeting virtually. We had a couple of drainage board hearings scheduled. We had a hearing on January 5th with the drainage board, and it recommended unanimous approval of our drainage plan, which our engineers, I believe even the neighbors' engineers have concluded will actually improve drainage for some of our surrounding neighbors. The next slide just shows that letter from the Johnson County engineer, Mr. Hoover, which indicates that because the information submitted in connection with the drainage approval meets with the Johnson County Subdivision Control Ordinance, approval of the petition is recommended, and it was approved unanimously. So what would Lennar propose to build in this subdivision? First off, Michelle mentioned that we will meet the standards of the R1, the revised standards of the R1 architectural development standards. I also want to make it clear to the Planning Commission, even though vinyl siding is allowed in the rear of the homes, Lennar would make, as part of their presentation tonight, a commitment that there will be no vinyl siding on any of the homes built in Eagles areas. And so, in addition, they would commit that their homes will be between 2,096 square feet, so about 2,100 square feet to 2,200 square feet for single-story homes, which exceeds those revised R1 standards. And that their two-story homes would be between 2,700 square feet and 3,400 square feet, so about 2,700 square feet to 3,500 square feet. Those exceed the R1 development standards, and we'll agree that these will be the minimum square footages of the homes we would build. We estimate those homes, members of the Planning Commission, to be between 400,000 and 500,000 for single-story homes, and two-story homes from 450,000 to 600,000. Now, we can't guarantee that that'll be the cost of those homes, but that's what they're costing in other subdivisions that we're building in the around the central Indiana area. And so we anticipate that these homes will be similarly priced at today's cost. What will they look like? They'll look like those homes. They'll look like these homes here. They'll have interiors like this. These are very nice luxury homes. These are move-up homes. They're expensive homes. To buy a $500,000 house requires a substantial income, and these homes will require that. They are very well finished. I've been in several. So what are the homes around us? When you went to the MIBOR, which is the Metropolitan Indianapolis Board of Realtors website in their database, to try to understand what was around us. And as near as we could tell, Hunters Point, that's up to the northeast there, is their median sales price is about $300,000. And they have a median square footage of about 2,700 square feet. It was built, I think it started in the median age is from 1986. To the west of us, Brent Ridge Estates, we believe their median sale price is about $375,000. Their range is from the low 200s to almost $650,000. Their median assessed value for the accessory directors is about $356,000. Forest Hills, right to our west, we think their median sales price is about $412,000, and their sales prices range from about $325,000 to almost $550,000, and their square footage is about 4,000 square feet. None of that is particularly relevant to this decision, as long as we meet the concrete standards of the subdivision control ordinance and the zoning ordinance. But we wanted to show the Planning Commission this, so that because we think our sales price range is going to be from $400,000 to $600,000 plus, and our square footage will be, I've already said, about 2,100, 2,200 square feet, almost 5,000 square feet if you include the basements in our homes. So we think we fit very well in with our three immediate residential subdivisions, which are zoned R1 and R2, as Michelle pointed out. When you're considering approval of a primary plat, you have to look at the concrete standards of the subdivision control ordinance. And there's findings of fact as suggested by staff. And the first one is you look at the subdivision control ordinance requirement and determine whether the preliminary plat is consistent with the requirements of that ordinance, including the design principles and standards. And the staff, in their proposed finding of fact, writes the proposed preliminary plat is consistent with the regulations requirements of subdivision control ordinance, as outlined in the planning staff's report for this petition, which is incorporating these findings of fact. We agree. Thank you. We agree with the staff's report. But also in finding number 2, that the proposed preliminary plat is consistent with applicable standards and requirements of the Johnson County zoning ordinance, and we believe we meet that. And then the other requirements, the consistency of the proposed plat with other applicable standards and requirements, staff writes that the plat is consistent with the applicable standards and requirements of the applicable checkpointing of the subdivision control. Staff wrote a very detailed staff report that recommends approval of preliminary plat subject to a couple of conditions. We agree with both those conditions as shown in Ms. Hansard's presentation this evening. Staff also concludes that the plat complies with the recently amended lot standards for R1 zoning district, and the proposed density is very similar to the neighborhoods in close proximity. The staff indicates what I just stated, that the petitioner has said that we have building areas between 2,096 square feet and 3,488 square feet. We respectfully suggest you make that the condition of this approval, if you so do so. And we provide access to abutting land as part of the Johnson County Subdivision Control Ordinance. And then they looked at this, they talked to the school administration, and they indicated that the school district's growth plan is a comment of ongoing residential development within the township. This has been zoned R1 for many years. It was highly likely this was going to be developed as single-family residential subdivision at a density that is below 2 units per acre. I suspect the school was aware that this could be developed. And lastly, and most importantly, the technical review committee reviewed the petition at its September meeting, and the plat satisfied all comments made. So in summary, and again, thank you for your time. Lennar has met with neighbors once in person and the virtual meeting, responded over 60 questions submitted by them. Our homes range from about 2,100 square feet, just under that, to 3,488 square feet. That exceeds the R1 standard, even enhanced R1 standard. Planning staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat subject to 2 conditions as outlined by Michelle tonight, and we agree to those conditions. Planning staff determined that our plat complies with the amended lot standards, and findings of fact support the approval of preliminary plat. For the Indiana statutory zoning ordinance statutes and case law, that's my respectful suggestion to the Planning Commission that it's the duty of the Planning Commission to approve the plat as they comply with the standards of the subdivision control ordinance and the zoning ordinance. And we again thank you for your time this evening. I'll try to answer questions.
Board members have any questions for the petition? I'll call one more time. Questions for petition? Mr. Chair, thank you, and I would suggest you maybe listen to the demonstrators to maybe be able to address some of the follow up some of the questions. Okay, it is the remonstration time. Are people in opposition? I should say, was there anybody else in the crowd in favor of this who would like to speak? There's about 2.5 minutes left, if there is anyone. Okay, seeing none, we will go to the remonstration time. I will state one more time, 20 minutes collectively. And we are going to take just a moment to look at the written demonstration letters. Okay, we've got 20 minutes. You guys try to be as equitable as you can with one another. Try to be civil. You know, we all are also adults. You know, I know everybody's emotions could possibly be running high. Well, let's get used to that. When you come to the record, you can state your name and address for the record. And like I said, every 5 minutes, I will let everyone know.
Good evening, my name is Lisa Dickinson, Dickinson, and I reside at 4564 Rimridge Parkway in Forest Hills. Whoops, I'm already got ahead of myself. I'm going to be talking about the subdivision control ordinance requirement that plats promote the safety and general welfare of Johnson County and its residents. So let's jump right in. You can see here that in the comprehensive plan, Stones Crossing is listed as one of 9 high crash locations. I'd like you to also note that capacity and narrow lanes on Stones Crossing are identified as deficiencies. Now, according to the comprehensive plan, insufficient capacity is predominantly an issue in White River Township. Residential development has outpaced infrastructure development, and peak hour levels of service and safety are concerns throughout this township. Now, as part of the Johnson County Corridor Plan, key locations and intersections that currently experience higher incidents of accident activity were identified. 2 of the 11 noted intersections were on Stones Crossing. Now, it wasn't that long ago that a police officer was hit by not 1, but 2 cars while directing traffic on Stones Crossing. That's a picture there of the impact of his body hitting the car. Now, the area where Lennar would like to build is actually located in the middle of a labeled constraint area. Additionally, Stones Crossing is already listed as an existing transportation constraint. You can see that noted there by the red dash arrow line. Where they'd like to build is denoted by the blue X. Let's see here. I want to note too that the constraints that are currently listed are limited to the existing conditions surrounding the corridor, and they don't take into consideration future growth and development. Now, Stones Crossing is currently classified as a minor arterial, but I want to bring to your attention that the plan notes that it's already functioning as a major arterial. Well, based on our own ordinances and regulations, major arterials should have 4 to 5 lanes, not 2 narrow lanes. The comprehensive plan lists widening Stones Crossing as a recommended transportation network improvement. Now, that's to your point, Mr. Canary. However, we have been told that there is no funding for this project, and there likely never will be. There's also no specific time frame given by the county for when this widening of Stones Crossing would occur. This subdivision would be located about half a mile from 3 schools, including the largest in Johnson County. Now, the comprehensive plan warns that large residential developments around main destinations, such as schools, can create areas of traffic congestion. It's important to consider the location and impacts of these developments. This doesn't just affect residents in the immediate area. This is going to affect any Center Grove resident who has a child who either does or will attend any of these 3 schools. In fact, Center Grove Superintendent Dr. Arpanoff recently addressed this proposed subdivision and traffic on Stones Crossing during his monthly coffee chat last month. He said, quote, "It would definitely be beneficial if Stones Crossing was wider all the way up to 135. We all feel that way, but that's not something the school districts can do. The schools are relying on you." Now, when Mr. Ryan, I'm going to skip that part because I'm running short on time.
I just want to say, we can't widen the road.
I understand that, Vice Chairman. I guess my point would be that it doesn't make sense to add 1,500 additional cars to a roadway that already doesn't provide adequate capacity. I see that as a safety issue for residents. If it's okay, I'd like to continue. Okay, thank you. So it's evident that there's already an issue with traffic in this specific area. The comprehensive plan notes that significant traffic volumes exist along sections of Stones Crossing Road. Now, the blue circle on this map denotes where they would like to build. And you can see that the exact place where residents would have to exit shows an extremely high average daily traffic count. In fact, the entire area surrounding where they would like to build shows an extremely high daily traffic count. I just want to show you what some of our documents do recommend. Goal 9 of the Johnson County Comprehensive Plan is to improve and require a quality transportation system. It states as a policy that you should require adequate public transportation systems to be in place prior to development. Looking at the SCO, it requires that the subdivision layout should be of such character that protects the health, safety, and general welfare of the county and its residents. Packing a significant number of homes onto 68 acres of developable land off of a roadway with documented traffic issues does not accomplish that. Now, Indiana code encourages units such as plan commissions to not just protect the safety and general welfare of residents, but quote, improve the health, safety, and welfare of their citizens, and to plan for the future development of their communities to the end that new communities grow only with adequate public way. We just can't keep approving developments without having the proper infrastructure in place first. Not only do we not have adequate public way, but the traffic situation on Stones Crossing is projected to significantly worsen. This shows the Indianapolis 2035 traffic projection for White River Township. You'll notice that traffic on Stones Crossing is projected to double by 2035. A passing blister is not going to address narrow lanes, capacity issues, traffic more than doubling by 2035, the necessary widening of Stones Crossing, nor will it completely address the high volume of traffic congestion that's common near schools. I suggest, well, there's basically three options that you can consider here. You can deny this plat as proposed. If adding 1,500 additional car trips onto a narrow 2-lane road with capacity issues and a high frequency of crashes doesn't impact the safety and welfare of residents, what does? You could have Lennar reduce the number of homes. It would make it more low impact, and it would also bring it into greater compliance with the Johnson County Comprehensive Plan. Finally, Lennar can financially contribute to the widening of Stones Crossing. We've seen them do this elsewhere in Indiana. I'm sorry, I need to drink water. In 2019, the Greenland Plan Commission asked Lennar to make improvements on Hussinger Road, where they built 66 homes. Lennar agreed. In Crown Point, the Plan Commission denied a proposed plat by Lennar on the sole issue of traffic and how that would impact resident safety. The Plan Commission did offer Lennar the opportunity to address those concerns, and subsequently Lennar came back to the table and contributed a significant amount of money toward updating the road in question. Reports put it anywhere between $250,000 to $1 million. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. Let's pass it on to the next person.
Mr. Chairman, did you say we have 15 minutes remaining?
What's that?
I'm sorry,
Yes,
did you?
15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening. My name is Angela Trussell. I reside at 4532 Brentridge Parkway. I'd like to enter my entire presentation into evidence. It should be a continuation of the PowerPoint that we had.
Oh,
I'd first like to talk today, as that comes up, about the future land use map. What you will see is this area is platted as R1. We know that it's zoned as R1. However, in the future land use map, we have two different areas. First and foremost, the north section is identified as suburban residential, and the south portion is rural residential. That is in the Johnson County Comprehensive Plan. For the, which computer is it? Okay. So as you can see, there are 3 sections as part of the Eagle Springs development. Section 1 and 2 are the south portion. They are currently RR. Again, this entire plat is R1. However, as it states in the Johnson County Comprehensive Plan that was updated in 2017, this area is currently RR, and the north field is designated as R1. As part of the staff's presentation, they highlighted that they recommended this for approval. However, in number 2 here, the 2017 White River Township Comprehensive Plan recommends that there be both rural residential and suburban residential dedicated to this plat of land. That does not comply with what staff has said. So I'd like to highlight a couple things here as well. Let me keep going for time's sake. On page 13 of the Johnson County zoning ordinance, it says that the purpose of R1 single family, page 13 of the Johnson County Comprehensive Plan dictates that the future land map should serve as an essential guide to the Plan Commission. And then page 17 clearly says that decisions regarding the development proposals, which this is, must be made in context of those goals and policies. This is a plan that was changed less than 5 years ago. There was a reason that part of this land remains as rural residential and part of this land remains as suburban residential. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know what the rationale is. Could it be because of wetlands? Could it be because of Stones Crossings? I'm not sure of those particular things. So my request to the Plan Commission this evening is to uphold that this land remain as rural residential and suburban residential. I'd like to talk a little bit about lot size, but I know that my neighbor here is going to talk more in depth about that. But as was said earlier, there is considerably smaller lot sizes that are proposed for the Eagle Springs development, as highlighted on this table. I know you can't see it, but it, excuse me, to remind you, it's 13,000 square feet for the average lot size. And then you have 23.2 acres that are for common area that cannot be built on. Cannot be built on. 23.2 acres that cannot be built on. It also says in staff's report that natural environment Lake Run meanders through the middle of the 91-acre subject site. This area is considered to be a wetland area and will be encompassed by a dedicated platted common area. So it has been evidence that there is wetlands in this area. It was already brought forward, the density proposal and the issues with the 1.68. I'm not going to continue on with that, but I would like to request that the Plan Commission consider Lennar's preliminary plat to up its square footage per lot to 18,295 square feet, which is similar to Hunters Point, which is one of the 3 remaining neighborhoods that connects to it. Lastly, I'd like to highlight information on the Highway Department technical review comment. This is very interesting to me because on page 20 of the report that you received, Neil Van Trees requested in number 5 of his report for 2 things. 1, that they be provided, that you all be provided a wetland report. And 2, that mitigation is required for a new road. You see, a new road has to be developed to connect the north and the south fields. The north field, again, is suburban residential. The south field is rural residential. You have to build a road over wetlands to do that. That report was not included in the Plan Commission materials. Absent a report means absent mitigation. So today, I'd like to request that you do not approve Lennar's preliminary plat as is, because a detailed wetland report, to our knowledge, has not been submitted. And it does not confirm that there's mitigation for why a road should connect a suburban residential to a rural residential area. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Mike Red, and I'm a lawyer. I live at 4656 Brent Ridge Parkway in the Brent Ridge neighborhood. I've entered an appearance in this case on behalf of the Brent Ridge Estates Homeowners Association, and also on behalf of myself personally. I'd like to pass out copies of my presentation, if I may. And are you guys able to pull that up right now, that PowerPoint?
Pull it up from where?
It's one I gave you.
Okay.
It's called Red.
Then, yeah.
Okay. How do I forward this?
The button on the right way.
I'm not going to go through all this. I would like to move the entire presentation into evidence right now in the interest of time. There are 2 reasons that this current proposal does not comply with the existing zoning ordinance. One is lot sizes under the R1 residential standard. And let's get to that. So I'm on slide number 8 right now. It says the purpose of the R1 single family residential district is to provide for residential development at an average density of 2 dwellings per unit acre. 2 dwelling units per acre. Now forward to slide 10. Okay. If you look at the area that they're actually developing, and as Mr. Watson was saying earlier, the dwellings per developed acre are 2.25. If you look at all the other neighborhoods that surround this neighborhood, even if you back out their common area, they all still pass the test. Now, we heard Michelle, who is the deputy director, I believe, senior planner, I'm sorry, say earlier that, well, that's just how they build neighborhoods these days. That might be right, but aside from her statement saying that, you don't really have evidence as to how neighborhoods are built and how this one differs from the ones that it's going to be right in the middle of. Simply stated, there's no substantial evidence to support the conclusion that this meets the R1 standard of less than 2 dwelling units per acre. Now, the second reason it doesn't meet the existing standards, your new standard under zoning ordinance section 1.15K6 talks about architectural diversity. Go to slide 13. Okay. That requirement requires a variety in primary dwelling building models shall be based on architectural articulation, fenestration, use of exterior materials and colors, massing and silhouette, and this is important, with regard to all 4 building elevations. Now you had Mr. Cooley up here earlier, and I believe what he's telling you is that this cornerstone collection from Lennar meets all the architectural diversity requirements. However, he only showed you pictures of the front of the houses. If you look through the remainder of my presentation, what you'll see is that all the houses that surround this proposed development have remarkable architectural diversity on all four sides of the house. When homeowners buy these new homes and they look out at our neighborhoods, what they're going to see looks really nice. And when we look back, what we're going to see are hardy plank boxes. We've been asking them about this since November, and they don't want to talk about it. He knew I was going to talk about this tonight, and he didn't bring any evidence at all to show you that he's meeting architectural diversity requirements with regard to all 4 building elevations. So for that reason, for those 2 reasons, their petition is unsupported by substantial evidence within the meaning of Indiana Code 3674-614. The burden to demonstrate that substantial evidence is on them. They have not done it. And to grant the petition would be arbitrary, capricious, abuse of discretion, or otherwise not in accordance with law. Again, all within the meaning of 3674-1614. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Got 5.5, 6 minutes left. Whoever's next wants to come up and speak.
I'm Mark Havens, West Fox with Graville. I'm the president of the First Points Homeowners Association. I'll make mine real quick. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not as well spoken as the rest of these people. But I will say that our number 1 concern is also traffic. And I know that you guys can't do a lot when it comes to the traffic, but allowing this plan to go forward would not be good for my neighborhood. We do not have, like the other 2 neighborhoods, we do not have sidewalks. And we are also the only neighborhood that allows a connection to Stub Street to go north to Olive Branch Road. The other 2 would kick out to Morgantown, or ours would go straight to Olive Branch. That being said, the majority of those homes are going to end up, with all the traffic going through Stone's Crossing, are going to end up attempting to go north to cut off 135, to cut off Morgantown and jump straight through to Olive Branch Road. We do not have sidewalks, like I said. We have cars parked on the side of the road. We have children walking, pets walking. We have all these other things. So my biggest concern is really the safety for my residents over there, and just adding the 1,500 extra cars. I know that's not going to go straight from my neighborhood, but you get points as of right now. We are the only one that goes north and makes that connection. Thank you.
about 2 minutes left. If anyone else has anything they'd like to say. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kim Cowan. I live at 2534 Forest Hill Boulevard in Forest Hill. And I just wanted to say that our attorney basically pointed out the size of the homes that they claim to build versus the size of the lot. It's like putting an elephant in a horse stall. It's just too small. And these homes, if you reduce the number of homes that are in the proposed subdivision, it would also help with the water drainage issue that I know is not your priority, but it is a priority that should be considered. I live at the bottom of on the lower lake in Forest Hill, and Honey Creek runs behind my home where the breach was, and I see these floods that have come through there when that breach was, and there's large trees and everything else that go underneath the Stones Crossing Bridge, and that bridge is going to be in peril when this water starts going down into the creeks and heading towards Honey Creek, especially on the other side of Stones Crossing. So I really hope y'all consider the home size and the water. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Kara Cecil. I live at 5092 Benville Drive. I actually am not in one of the surrounding neighborhoods, but I grew up in Bargersville. I live here and I intend to stay. I'm a professor of public health, and there is a policy to have health at all times. You do have it within your authority to consider the health of the traffic around this area. Traffic accidents is leading cause of death in children, and we have 1,000 plus. I imagine going east alone on Stones Crossing, new drivers, new high-risk drivers, driving east on Stones Crossing and attempting to go through these neighborhoods. Keep that in mind. She mentioned flooding. Flooding is the absolute #1 most common natural disaster. I have flooded my car in these neighborhoods because of this. I ask that you would consider the not only their observations about it not meeting the requirements of the code, but actually do please consider the health of all policy. Thank you.
30 seconds.
Hi, the traffic on Stones Crossing by 2035 is going to double. And if you can just imagine State Route 135 now between Smith Valley and Olive Branch. Now that's about double the traffic that we'll see on Stones Crossing, but they also have double the lane. Imagine that traffic flow by 3 schools where our children attend. Please keep that in mind.
Lisa Diggins.
Lisa Diggins.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Tui?
Yes.
You will have an additional up to 5 minutes to potentially address some concerns, to give your thoughts, to add anything that you did not add immediately. And your time is starting now.
Could I wait 1 second till I get my PowerPoint back up?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you can- Oh, thank you.
From the beginning?
No, at the very, go to the very end, please. Thank you, sir. I think that's perfect. Thank you very much. Could we go one back? Yes. So members of the Planning Commission, thanks for hearing our case. Indiana Code 367-4-707 says that if after the hearing, Planning Commission or Plat Committee determines that the application and plat comply with the standards of the subdivision control ordinance, the commission or committee shall make written findings and a decision granting primary approval to the plat. The decision must also specify any condition imposed or waiver granted under the section 702 of this chapter. Next slide indicates that there's a case called Hickory Hills Development Code LLC versus Kaufman. And what it says is that the commission's only role when reviewing plat applications is to determine whether the plat presented to them comports with the requirements of their subdivision control ordinance
And it says that approval and review of subdivision plat is considered a ministerial as opposed to a discretionary act. And that if you determine the plat complies with the standards set forth, you should grant approval of this. So let's look and walk back through what the remonstrator said. Starting off with Ms. Dickinson, and I do very much respect the neighbors' views of this development. But it's a couple things are pretty important, I think, to note as to what the evidence is before you. In the county highway department, in an email or a report from Neil Van Trees dated February 10, after looking at the traffic on Stones Crossing roads, made two very important conclusions. One, the improved entrance will aid in traffic flow on Stones Crossing Road when vehicles enter and exit the subdivision. He then goes on to say is that given the road segment operates at an acceptable LOS, that stands for level of service. So he's saying the road operates at a successful or an acceptable level of service. And with the other three connections present, it will not be detrimental to the roadway. So I do understand that this will add traffic to that road. But the best evidence before you is the county highway engineer says that it operates now at an acceptable level. It will continue to operate at an acceptable level after this subdivision is built out. Another remonstrator, Ms. Tressel, I think, Angela, made a very good point about the comprehensive plan, and she's exactly right. But the comprehensive plan members of the Planning Commission is not an element of approving a preliminary plat. That's something you look at when me or someone else brings a rezoning petition to you. This actually does meet the requirements of the comprehensive plan in that it's zoned R1, and we're proposing an R1 subdivision. This is not, these are not small lots. These lots are just shy of a third of an acre at an average. She asked that you mandate 18,000 square foot lots. I respectfully suggest you can't do that because in your R1 standards, we meet them. In fact, we exceed them in our proposed lots. Mr. Red addressed architectural diversity. Members of the Planning Commission, thank you. Architectural diversity is not even before us tonight. I was merely showing you those houses so you'd have an idea of what we were going to build. But in a preliminary plat, you don't get to considering what the rears of houses are going to look like. Did commit, we just make it part of the motion that we not have any vinyl on those houses. But the rear of houses is not at all a standard which the Planning Commission considers whether to approve a preliminary plat. The standard is if we meet the concrete standards, the elements of your subdivision control ordinance and of the R1 zoning district, that's the standard by which you approve or do not approve a plat. And whether or not our rears of our homes, however they look, that's just not relevant tonight. The lot size is under the R1 standards. You heard Michelle Hanson say, this is how you calculate density. Take the gross acreage divided by the number of lots. We are under the density of the R1 standards. We're under 2 homes per acre. And now if you change the way you calculate density, perhaps then we wouldn't be. But
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you for hearing our cases.
Thank you. Public discussion will now be approved on this, please. So. Board members have anything to discuss, talk about on this case in particular at this time? Anything anybody wants to say?
Yeah, Mr. Bellman, I just wanted to clarify with Michelle. At the beginning, you did mention that they might have the option to not install a passing blister on Stones Crossing Road. In the memo provided by the Highway Department, it says the connection on Stones Crossing Road will be required to have an acceleration lane, deceleration lane, and passing blister. Is that?
Are you referring to their page 20?
Page 21, And then you had like a amendment maybe at the beginning of your presentation.
Yeah, all right. This was condition kind of similar. We did a maybe subdivision called Bellevue, letters of Bellevue. The ultimate recommendation of the highway was a passing list. They, I think at one point that developer might have run into some issues with trying to get the right away from the south side of that or the east side of that road. So the highway was up to discussion about maybe doing shift lanes or doing more improvements on their side versus the other side. So with this condition that are modified, it was kind of leaving that up to the highway department. They've done everything they could to do the passing blister. If they can't do that passing blister with the additional right of way on the south side of the crossing, then any other plans need to be approved and reviewed by the highway department.
So if we approve it as read, then it would be in the hands of the highway department, and potentially they would be able to bypass putting in a passing blister. Potentially.
Yeah, I mean,
It's up to the highway
yeah,
department.
however they make that passing blister combination. I don't know if it'll be like a lane shift as a small portion of that.
That's all I have. Thank
Yeah. Lennar said, I know there's one thing that he said a couple times, the conditions they agreed to is they're so vinyl. They're very different pieces from different topics tonight. Saying about they had agreed to other things. Like, do we have a list of anywhere of what's been agreed to, what hasn't? And I mean, if we've got an insurance company paying for it tonight, that's a ton of stuff I've never seen before now. So,
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, council, but the only thing that we are deciding on is what is in the packet, unless we choose to add conditions or whatnot. If we decide to make a positive for this petition, and we decided to add conditions, we could do that, correct?
Are you still in your meeting? Appropriate. Without petitioner's approval or consent or agreement, it would have to be things that are specifically tied to deficiencies in their plan. Right.
But I guess my point, what I'm trying to make is that all we know is what we've been presented. So anything that's been agreed upon outside of this meeting tonight, if it has not been presented.
Well, that's correct, but I would note that there are multiple pages of demonstrator letters that provided, one of which included a list of alleged commitments that were made at some point or agreed to, and as part of it. And I believe one of the audience members mentioned that, tried to point out that her presentation may have included same.
Attorney Watson, you need to speak into the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I believe there's also something in the demonstrative packet. If somebody has a copy of that, go for it, find it.
Hey, Chad.
Yes.
And Pete just made a note of this, and I agree with him. The two things, with your mask on, everything is muffled, and you guys are speaking into the microphone. You need to speak directly into the microphone, and if possible, maybe remove your mask, because it's coming across to Pete and I anyway, it's just muffled and broken up.
Thank you for the note. Of what I understood from what you were saying is that you were encouraging anyone who's speaking to speak into the microphone so that they can be heard clearly. Is that correct, Ron?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Board members have anything else they'd like to discuss? Any questions for staff? Yes.
One question of staff from, oh, I'm sorry. From all the information that you have given us to date, and Fisher and all of the demonstrators, everything that they have given us, do we have the information we need that meets our standards that we can approve this as a board?
Yes.
Any more comments from the board? Was there something that you wanted to say?
Yes, before any motion is made, I wanted to make sure that everyone had a proper understanding of where things stood. And I will start with, in the event that there is a motion to deny the petition, that motion needs to clearly identify the specific deficiencies that exist in the plat that has been proposed, and the concrete reasons why the plat failed to meet the requirements of the subdivision control ordinance. That has to be part of what's included in a motion to deny. That said, as I see it, there are 4 general options that you have at this point. You can make a motion to approve with or without conditions. Staff obviously has recommended some conditions. Certain commitments have also been offered as additional conditions that could be included by the petitioner. Second, you could make a motion to deny the petition, which would, as I stated, need to include specific deficiencies and the basis for the reasons for those deficiencies, not complying with the subdivision control ordinance. The third option would be to, if you had specific concerns or issues that maybe there's a question about that you have, you could refer it back to the technical review committee to have those specific items investigated, evaluated further. And then fourth, you could, if you felt like there was additional information that was needed or additional time needed to make a decision on this, you could make a motion to continue this. So those are the 4 options in general that you have.
Are there any more comments from anyone on the board? Seeing as how there are no comments, motion one way or another, or any of the 4 aforementioned motions?
I will
actions, I should say.
Just note in consistency with the rules, if there is not a motion that is approved one way or the other, which would require 5 of the 6 participating members to vote in favor of the motion, absent the approved motion, it would automatically be continued to the following month's meeting.
Does everybody understand that? Anyone like to make a motion? No one likes to make motions. Anyone got anything to say? Everybody need a minute to take it all in.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
based on the staff's finding of fact that they have presented to us in this meeting, it would appear that this petitioner meets the criteria to establish the subdivision. Now, I've been listening to everyone that's here, and I understand some of the questions, certainly about traffic. It's not something that the Plan Commission can resolve for you. But I agree, a continued dialogue with the county and the highway people and so on would certainly be in your best interest to do that. But I would make a motion to approve this based on finding of the fact that all the criteria is met by the staff that provided this. And the additional comment that there will be no bond. Anyway.
So just for clarity, the motion would be to approve the petition as presented with the vinyl as a condition, no vinyl. And a new clarification, the staff also recommended 2 other conditions. Would you want to include that in those in your motion? I'm sorry. Okay. As the highway department and the highway recommendation was modified tonight. Okay, so we have three conditions at this point to your motion. The petitioner also offered, as I understand it, to include some minimum sizes for both the ranch and 2-story. You want to include that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. According to my notes, correct me if I'm wrong here, for a ranch, the minimum would be 2,096 square feet. There was a range that was used, but it's going to be a minimum. It's, unless we wanted, it was spoken as 296, 2,225 square feet. And then for a 2-story, I noted 2,772 square feet to 3,488 square feet for a 2-story. So, and were you then wanting the low side of that to be the minimum? Those spreads that they gave?
Can we just provide the information that the petitioner gave us?
Creates a little bit of ambiguity, in my opinion. I would prefer to see either a minimum or the upper end of what they gave. Mr. Toohey, do you want to make a comment on that? Maybe clarify?
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Yes, the minimum is fine. I can give a range so the board would know where we anticipate building houses. But the minimums you stated are acceptable to us. We agree to that.
So if we were going to have a single number for ranch and a single number for 2-story, what are you offering?
2,096 square feet on ranches and 2,700 square feet on 2-stories.
I thought I had heard 2,772. Did I hear that incorrectly?
Somewhere I've got a number of 2,096, 3,048.
Yeah, the 3,488 would be the top end of a 2-story.
Mr. Watson, the range I gave, the minimum of the ranch was 2,096 and the 2-story minimum was 2,772.
Okay. And you're sticking with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You like to make those minimums in the conditions? All right, thank you. Are you satisfied with that's all you want in your motion?
Yes.
All right, and I would go ahead and suggest that we include the proposed findings presented by the staff. As Planning Commission's findings. All right. We have a motion.
Let's get a reread of the motion before we go for a second.
Would you like me to restate that?
Yeah, I would, please.
We have a motion for Mr. Bacatory to approve the proposed plat with the two conditions stated by or recommended by the staff and the staff report, along with 3 additional conditions, those being that there would be no vinyl siding within the subdivision, that the minimum square footage for ranch homes would be 2,096 square feet, and that the minimum square footage for a 2-story home would be 2,772 square feet. And the proposed findings of fact provided by the staff would be approved by the commission as well. For that motion.
I have a second to that motion.
Are you putting the highway modifications?
That's correct.
Making sure that's.
Thank you for the clarification. And the highway recommended condition would be the amended version that was presented tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second the motion.
Mr. Barcotton with the first. Mr. Canary with the second. Everyone understand the motion? Mr. Barcotton, it is your motion. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Mr. Canary, it was your second. Do you have anything you would like to add?
No, sir.
Any other board member have anything they would like to add on the motion? Roll call vote. Mr. Ketchum.
Yes.
Mr. Barcotton.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. Mr. Bush.
No.
Mr. Canary.
Yes.
Mr. Cantwell.
No.
Motion does not have enough votes to carry, so it will be continued and
We need, before we continue it, we need to see if there is a alternate motion, particular to deny. Unless there's another motion that might be acceptable to approval. But we do have to invite another motion, particularly if it is to be a denial or denied, to be appropriate in my opinion. Have a motion to that effect. Because that has to be done from
Mr. Bowman, I'd like to make that motion. My thoughts are, you've got one chance to develop this property, and it seems like there's a lot of ambiguity going on here amongst what they're trying to propose. Specific points for denial would be to note that in the original report, the highway did specify that that blister be installed, and I think that is a big part of the health and safety with all the increased traffic. I think adding that amendment in there is wrong, and I think we should enforce that blister. I don't think it's the people's fault that they can't acquire that land. I think that's the duty of the developer. The other points would be the ambiguity of the differentiating in the houses and that it fits the overall area of the houses around it. There's a lot of custom built houses. There's a lot of custom builders in the area. And I think that I don't think these people are asking, that they move them out in here. I think they're asking for simple changes, and that the Lennar Homes propose these simple changes would be an easy approval. So on those facts, I would like to make a motion to deny.
we have a clarification question for Mr. Bush.
Yes. The first concern during the blister is well stated. The second concern on the ambiguity and differentiating. It wasn't clear to me exactly what you were referring to. I think it's important that we understand that it is clear in particular, what the developer would have to do in order to satisfy subdivision control ordinance requirements on this issue that you're pointing out.
Yeah, I think that the developer needs to propose or show some sort of documentation that all sides of the structure are going to be differentiated and prove that 30% rule, that not all houses need to be think it was 30% of the houses need to be differentiated. I don't think there was anywhere in the proposal that substantiated that that was gonna happen. I believe people had that confidence. You know, I would like to make a note of the lot size. I understand how the calculation is made. You know, I think that's a note just for the record that if someone was to develop a 100-acre swamp and, you know, 95 acres of it was unbuildable and they want to make a subdivision on 5 of it to use the total acres, it just seems not right, I think, just for common sense purposes. Just for a note, but that has nothing to do with my motion. Just for clarification purposes.
I'll defer further questions.
We have a motion to deny. Do I have a second? I will call again for a second on a motion to deny. Third and final time on motion to deny. Do I have a second? Motion fails for lack of second. Is any other member of this board prepared to make a motion? I'll ask again if there is anyone else on this board who is prepared to make a motion. Third and final time to make a motion before this will be continued. Okay. So with no further motions, not enough votes on one, motion failed with the second on another. This is automatically going to be continued to March.
Thank you for your time.
I would suggest that if the parties can get together and try to come to some kind of amicable agreement, it would be beneficial for all involved, if that is possible.
Really noted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, I believe that with the regular hearing next month, that's spring break for all of Center Grove. And I don't know if there's a role for us in the next hearing, but I think most of the people that are here tonight, some of them might not be available.
Mr. Chairman, I obviously recuse myself, but if you can hear me, I got a couple of comments I'd like to make. Can you hear me?
I recommend that you not make any comments concerning the petition or the substance of the petition.
I'm not going to make any comments regarding the petition, but I am going to make some comments on some of the things that Steve, you even outlined at the beginning of the process there, and some of the wording that was displayed this evening. Such words as shall, mandatory, no discretion to reject, ministerial as opposed to discretionary, commission's only role. So I guess the question would be, if a petitioner meets all of the requirements that we put forth in the standards, then why do they even have to come to a meeting? If the board doesn't have the ability or availability to make certain decisions based on information that's provided and remonstrance, then why even bother having them come to the meeting? The planning commission would simply say they meet all the requirements and stamp the thing. And then we need to, again, this body, and I know that David's done a great job and his staff working up to this point, but guys, we surely need to look at where building is going to be done in an area that's all custom home construction. And I've spoken about this before. It absolutely makes no sense in my thinking to allow construction, home construction in an area where it's all custom home builders to go to a more whatever you want to call it, standardized type of construction. But hopefully as we go forward, we can address a couple of those issues, and it would save a heck of a lot of heartburn for you guys. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm feeling for you because both sides done a great job in their presentation, and it's tough to make a decision a lot of times on these presentations. But I think that's a couple of things, and I agree with Mr. Nash, I think it was, when we talked about density, and I brought that up before. We ought to refine that density application, and not, somehow you got to discount the common areas and take it out of there. That's it for me.
Thank you. As far as the continuance date, is the board agreeable to March, or is there another, do we want to push it out further?
I'm fine with March.
I'm good with March as well, so March it will be. You good with that? Okay, March it will be. Next case will be Z-1-21, Graver rezoning. Michelle or David, either one of you staff, the floor is yours.
I was just given 2 letters from neighbors. One letter is actually from 2 different property owners, and then the other one's just another one. I do not have copies right now, so if you want copies. It's the same, it's the
Z-1-21. Should be the very last segment that I don't want to slide.
Z-1-21, which is approximately 1855 from State Road 37 to Gravewood. The property owner is Dale Graver. He's represented by Eric Pine. The property is 2.13 acres, zone R1, single family residential. They are seeking a rezoning petition to rezone this from R1, single family residential zoning district to B2, community business zoning district, to provide for self-storage facilities. The property is located in White River Township. It is on the west side of State Road 37, soon to be I-69. It is also south of the intersection of State Road 37 and Olive Branch Road. This parcel is lot 3 of the day mini residential subdivision that is unapproved. It was once had heavy vegetation, but this year has been removed. The site is surrounded by similar sized parcel zone used residentially, all zone R1. This is a view of the property. This is the residence that is to the north. This is a property head on. Right behind it would be State Road 37. Then this is the lot that is south of it. This is across the street, trying to show there's a residential home here, and there's another one over
As stated, they are seeking to rezone a 2.3 platted residential lot from R1 single family residential to B2 community business. It is to provide for self-storage facility. They're proposing, I think, a 200 plus self-storage facility, all enclosed buildings. As you see in the staff report, this is a conceptual plan, has not gone through any technical review at this point. B2 is the only zoning district that permits self-storage facilities by right. And when when to consider rezoning, the board needs to consider certain criteria for rezoning petition. One is it compatible with comprehensive plan? Two, the current condition, the character of the current structure and use of each district. Three, the most desirable use for the land which in each district is adapted. The conservation of the property values throughout the jurisdiction and responsible development growth. To head on two major points of those recommendations, the comprehensive plan. There was an Interstate I-69 corridor plan that was recently approved. The future land use of this future land use map for this particular area did recommend industrial mixed use development for the site use. That industrial mixed use recommendation, which applies to the entirety of the western side of I-69 through Johnson County, was taken to different forms depending on the I-69 we're at in the I-69 corridor. The industrial mixed use recommendations for subject area would call for employment generating technology-based industrial and office users. A self-storage facility would neither be technology-based nor employment generated. So the request would be that the request represents a use far from the ideal that the plan is recommended. Furthermore, the B2 community zoning district itself does not recommend accommodate the technology-based uses as recommended by the comprehensive plan by 69. As far as responsible development growth, our original comprehensive plan recommends against piecemeal rezoning rather than urges the properties to be zoned to sufficient land area as aggregated to allow for viable commercial development. This request is considered piecemeal or spot zoning as it is a business zone district within R1 zoning districts. It is a property that is wedged between residential zone districts and active residential uses. All the red dots are the current residential houses in that area. Also to note this, rezone price is only for 2 acres, which would provide development which simply cannot fit. They have access to development standards variances as well that would be provided to PPA tomorrow night if this rezone price was recommended for approval to the commissioners. So these were the 2 development standard variances, just to briefly discuss that. One was to reduce the side setback from 30 feet to 10 feet on the north, which is abutting to a residential home. And then also to reduce our landscape buffer requirement from 20 feet of double row trees to 10-foot wide landscape buffer. And then also additionally, as one of our recommendations in the I-69 corridor plan, we did recommend amendments to be made to our corridor overlay district. We have an overlay district right now, and it has to make modifications. Like the plan recommends modifications that need to be made, but we have not made those modifications yet. But one of the recommended approval, one of the recommended amendments was that one of the prohibited uses would be storage and warehouse uses. It doesn't clearly, state what kind of storage that we do. Self-storage is kind of in line with that, as well as storage of items. As you can see, again, this is a lot. This is within residential area, currently all zone R1. If it was joined with other parcels that would be larger than 2 acres or more of a use that was proposed for that future land use, the staff obviously would have a different opinion as we do now. Again, to consider a rezone request for the planning commission shall pay reasonable regards to those 5 points, and I believe I hit, strongly on the comprehensive plan does not recommend this. And number 5, responsible development, approved 2-acre development that already needs 2 variances to develop. It's not responsible growth in this area currently. So staff recommend denial, which would be a non-favorable recommendation to the county commissioner.
Board members have any questions for staff? Thanks, Michelle. Okay. I'm going to make the assumption that either Eric Prime or Dale and or Crystal Raver are here. Is that correct? Okay, is there okay, so anyone who's here to speak for and or against this petition, please rise, raise your right hand, take the oath of witness. Once again, I'll remind you, if you do not get sworn in, you will not be allowed to speak.
You and each of you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
Okay, before we go any further, I have a quick question that I have to ask. Is there anybody here who is not in favor of this? That's all I needed to see. Okay. So, Mr. and Mrs. Raver or Mr. Prime, the floor is yours. You will have up to 15 minutes. You do not take 15 minutes. You have up to 15 minutes. The people who are in opposition to this request will have up to 20 minutes collectively. You do not have to take 20 minutes collectively, but you have it if you need it. So, we'll hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I?
Yes.
There we go. For the record, Eric Prime, Bay Bailey Law Firm, Greenwood, on behalf of the petitioners. This evening, we're here to talk about self-storage units. Not very sexy. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations where I call it one of the greatest ironies of planning. The reason I say that is typically neighbors don't want them right near them. Typically municipalities kind of want to punt that down the road and not worry about those things. But it's ironic because all of the self-storage units around our area are running at 90 to 100% capacity. Most of them have waiting lists. So it's weird, right? So on the one hand, where do you put them? We don't want them in our backyard, but on the other hand, everybody wants them. And there is enough demand that that's why my client wants to utilize his ground for this purpose. What we're talking about here is a gentleman who's owned this parcel for 34 years. He originally bought it intending to build his personal home on it, but even back then there were enough rumblings about a highway coming through that he kind of waited and bided his time to see what would happen. And now he knows. NDOT came in and took a big chunk of his eastern border for additional right of way. And what he's left with is just a hair over 2 acres. It's zoned residential right now, R1, but he's sure as heck not going to put a house on it. And the theory is, as you can tell from the staff's presentation, this whole area is supposed to become industrial. So the folks that live nearby and live in that area, I think know or can see the writing on the wall that they're welcome to stay there, but they're going to have an exceptionally difficult time selling their homes as homes. Their best route forward is to sell their land for commercial or industrial use, because that's kind of where it's going. And in fact, this whole area, as you can see here, is this is the giant overview, sort of the 50,000 foot level. But everything to the west of 37, which will soon be 69, it's a very thin area that is usable because it very quickly goes drops off and goes into floodplain. So as you go west, you hit the White River, and you can see all the water even that's in that area now. So it's a pretty thin area to begin with. When you drill down into this area, and again, you can see how far the water comes up full time in terms of the ponds. That's the old IMI gravel pit area. This parcel is outlined, highlighted in the green or the light blue there that we're talking about. But the frontage road that's going to connect Smith Valley to the north and 144 to the south is going to come down the west side of these parcels and actually
link on to Old State Road 37, right about where Audubon is, where the Audubon auto repair place is. It's going to come just down the west side of that facility and then link onto Old 37 and swing around and then hook on and then continue. They're going to build a new section that will go parallel to 69 all the way down to 144. That's going to be really the only way to get from Smith Valley to 144, certainly on the west side of the road. Because the only interchange is going to be at Smith Valley and then 144. The problem is that for these folks, all of these, the 7 parcels that are in this little bubble here, is they're cut off. They're wedged between an interstate highway and a frontage road. And so those parcels are really going to have to use some ingenuity to figure out how they're best used, right? And so, as I said when I started, nobody wants a storage unit in the backyard if they have that choice. In this instance, we believe the entire character of this area is going to change in the very near future to this industrial commercial mix. County believes that's going to happen. That's what's in the plan. And so for the folks that are still living there, we think this is going to change for them pretty soon. And this is a good spot to put this type of use, because this area is so thin between my client's entire width of depth of their property from the frontage road to the area that was taken by NDOT is about 350 feet, 450. And then even at the biggest bow there, that's about 500 feet. And it narrows on down to less than 300 feet as you get up closer to Audubon. So if what the staff is talking about is putting in some type of high technology, high industrial use, that won't fit here. Even if you bought all 7 of these parcels, it's only 20 acres. And we're putting in setbacks, parking, on-site detention. There's no room left to do a factory or a high technology center. This is going to require, like I said, some ingenuity to figure out how these people are going to market their ground and how they're going to get any kind of a value out of the property once all of this new construction goes through. And so for my client, he bided his time, he waited, and then he knows this industry. He helps paint these facilities around the state, and he knows how this works. He knows the demand that's out there, and he's looking at his property that he can't build a house on, and he's thinking, hey, perfect. I'm between a superhighway and a frontage road in an area where it really, at some point down the road, will be all commercial or all industrial. And then beyond it is floodplain. So this, if there's a good spot anywhere in the world for self-storage, we're looking at it, because you can't put any higher, heavier uses in this little wedge that's going to be left once all this road work gets done. So despite staff's recommendation denial, it's our position we actually meet the comprehensive plan. The comp plan, if you look at the staff's, I don't have it on this PowerPoint, but the staff showed it. It's in the staff report. This exhibit shows that area crosshatched as industrial mixed use. Staff's report indicates that they want some income producing, high wage, high employment type technical use. That's the purple on here, high tech industry. It's purple on this exhibit. There is no purple for my client's property. That's the industrial mixed use, is what it's calling for there. And certainly this type of storage facility is not out of context for that type of situation. So it's our position that we do meet 5 criteria, that we do fit with the comprehensive plan, that this the current conditions and character of this area are going to change substantially. They are changing. If you've driven up 37 lately, the plaster shack that used to be there isn't there anymore. Audubon is still there. The paintball place is still there. So this always, even before this 69 situation, this was always a mixed use area. This wasn't just a residential enclave, right? You have the high intensity of the auto repair place. You got the plaster shack. You got the paintball place. So, and mixed in with houses. So it's always been mixed use. And it's only going to become more of that that's skewed toward commercial and industrial by the time all this development gets done. Most desirable use, well, yes. I mean, here we are. This is an area that is calling for a different type of use. It's not going to be hospitable for folks to live there.
in the next decade. It'll slowly develop out and be not an area that people will be desiring to live in as that changes. The property values are already pretty much set because now they know what the comprehensive plan says, they know what the intention for the county is to be in that area, and they know that their values are going to be set by a commercial rate or an industrial rate for their homes, not as residents. So this type of a use will not devalue. It's in keeping with the increasing values that this property as a whole will have as commercial or other industrial users come down through there. But it's also important to look at this map again, because you can see that there's a black dotted line that runs down through there. That's new frontage road that's going to be coming through. And you can tell when you're up north here by Smith Valley, there is a substantial space on both sides in that orange area for development. But as you cross over past Olive Branch where the big blob is, and it comes down around, it tucks up tight against 37, against 69. And there's just a little bow out right there. Other than that, this frontage road is running right along the interstate. And so all of the development or the space for development is on the west side, not this east side. And what we're caught with is basically 7 orphan parcels here that are really going to have a tough time finding an end user because of the lack of space and because of the proximity to being right up against the highway. So we believe it is responsible development. We believe that property values are not going to be harmed and will be maintained, even with this type of use. And so we certainly ask that the board would recommend a favorable recommendation forward to the commissioners. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Board members have any questions? Thanks, sir. Is there anyone else here who is in favor of this request? Anybody here speak in favor of it? Okay, we will go to our remonstration portion of the hearing. Like I said, remonstrators, you will get 20 minutes collectively. You don't have to use it all, but you have it. You come to the lectern, if you can state your name and address for the record, and we'll hear from the first one.
My name is Benita Van. I live at 1914 Old State Road 37 in Greenwood. My husband, Tony Van, lives with me. And I have lived there for 35 plus years. So it's not the first time I've been in front of this board, not only for it, but for the paintball place that came into effect, for the event center that came into effect. And I would have done the Audubon if I had received a letter to let me know that it was there. That's the only reason that the Audubon got in. The plaster shack was there when I was living there. Unlike the picture that you show, we do have 9 residents who live on our street. And of those, Mrs. Day, she lived there for 35 plus years. I have been there for 35 plus years. Don Weaver has been there for 35 plus years. Day's property, it is a rental property, and she does have people who have been in and out of there. The Livingstons have lived at their house for 14 years. The other residents have lived there for 5 plus years or more. None of us plan on going anywhere, no matter what is decided. I invested in my home 35 plus years ago, and I put money into it. I've paid my taxes to Johnson County. So for somebody to come up here and say, we need to sell out. No, we don't need to sell out. We've been there. We've invested our time. We don't plan on going anywhere. We have a half a mile of our frontage road that has been there, that has been a dead end road. You have plenty of room to the north of us to build whatever industrial thing that you want to build. We ask that you leave our half a mile stretch of homes that people have paid money for and have been invested into to make nice homes. The reason that the plaster shack business closed down, Don Weaver actually has his property in litigation right now to oppose that. So it's not like he's trying. The state took part of his frontage and his baggage of The reason that we don't want, some of the reasons that we don't want to build it is we do feel that it will affect our property price. Yes, we do know what 69 is going to bring, but as far as that half a mile stretch, businesses can be on both sides. We oppose the paintball. It's there. We know it. We also know that the Autobahn is at the end of the road. So if industrial wants to build to the north, we don't oppose that. We have nothing, but we do have our half a mile stretch of land that we've invested in. Matter of fact, I did ask Don Raver, Mr. Raver, this past spring or last spring, what his intention was when he was clearing the land. And he said, oh, well, I'm just going to keep it. I said, he had thought about selling it. I told him, you know, I wish I'd have known that. We would have purchased it. No, I don't feel like selling. And the reason is he's getting 3 times the amount for commercial if he would sell it. And he encouraged us to look into it because he gave us 3 times the amount of money if the land was deemed commercial. They don't want 3 times the money. I want my home. And I know the other residents want their home. That's why I moved to Johnson County. If I wanted to live in a city, if I wanted to live in a subdivision, that's exactly what I would have done. I wouldn't have meant all of that money for that. If a facility gets in, the storage units, that's increasing traffic, which we already know that there's going to be an increase in traffic, but that's just added traffic. With those storage units, my husband is retired, and with as a police officer, and with that, sometimes we know that unscrupulous things happen in storage units, including stolen cars, stolen vehicles, drugs have been in those places, and so we don't want any of that. Drainage is an issue too, so because if you look at the property, it looks like it's a flat level ground. It's not. It actually dips down. So you would actually have to dip down into it, and then it's straight. So where does the runoff go from water that is accumulated in that land? Does it go to the north and the south of the property, into those frontage properties? Also the aesthetics, what's going to happen and what's it going to look like if it is done. And he doesn't live in the neighborhood. He bought the property, but he never did build a home there. We have, and we lived it. And that's why we hope that you guys do not approve this. We want just our little half mile frontage. Yeah, we're 9 homes that live on it. 9 homes. You can build your industrial whatever you want to the north. You can't do much to the south because the paintball place is there unless you take them down and want to do industrial. But leave us our half a mile. That's all we ask is our half mile. And I don't think that that's too much to ask from the board for that. And if you look back at all the times I have opposed every business that has tried to get in here just so that we can have our half a mile. So I hope the board listens to that and denies the help. Thank you.
There's about 14 minutes left.
My name is Bryant Livingston. I live 2009 on State Road 37. Basically, I just want to reiterate pretty much what Benita said. I bought the house there a little over 14 years ago because it was a rural residential area. I moved from Indianapolis because I didn't no longer want to live in a city or industrial or commercial buildings. I've invested a large sum of money in the house that I bought with plans that it would always be there for me, that I'd always be able to have a rural residential property. I realize there's other commercial buildings, there's, as she said, Autobahn and different things. But we do have, as she said, a half a mile of 9 residents that enjoy where they live, that take care of their properties, that invest in their properties. You don't find many of them that are in need of repair. They are well taken care of. And to come in with this type of a business doesn't add any value to anything or anyone. All it does is the person who's selling it put money in their pocket. Nobody else is going to benefit from this. No one, any way, shape, or form. And you can look at the statistics. Storage units induce crime area. People know that value is sometimes stored in storage units, and it attracts undesirable people to come and try to engage in those. I don't want that around my home. My home, I've lived there 14 years, and I've never had, honestly, any trouble at all in 14 years, nor do I want it to start. I'm asking that you consider what your own staff has proposed in denying this, and please let us live in our little peace and quiet that we have. Yes, 69 is behind us. We knew that when we bought it, but we were aware of that. And we can deal with that because 37 has been there and it's always been traffic. But to bring in other traffic and to bring in other things that are undesirable is not the best way for this area or this neighborhood that we have. Thank you for consideration. I hope it's denied.
Good evening. My name is Stoney Van. I live at 1914 Old State Road 37. I'm going to recommend that the commission goes along with the staff recommendation in denying this. As stated earlier by Benita and Mr. Livingston, this is only 1/2 mile of simple 1/2 mile that has 200 years of residents that have lived on that land. 200 years. That has to mean something to you guys. It has to mean something. I-69. We knew about I-69 for years. And it struck fear in the 9 neighbors that live on Old State Road 37. We did not know exactly what was going to happen with I-69. Were they going to take all of the properties? Were they going to take none of them? Were they going to take some of them? Well, I-69 maintained the integrity of the residential structure on our street. They took none. We dodged a bullet, and we all know that. They took a business, Mr. Weaver's business of 40 years, the Blue Blaster Shop. They maintained the business at the Autobahn, which is right as you turn onto the street. Those two businesses was not really a factor in the integrity of the neighborhood. Why? Because they rest on the north end as you enter the property. You go right into them. What they're proposing here with the storage facilities is more of a creep. It's a creep right into the neighborhood. They have to pass 5 of the 9 neighbors to get to the storage facility. Obviously, we bring some elements of crime. Common sense, reasoning, and logic tells us that. Could be to store, proceeds of burglaries or what have you, or drugs, all that. I'm retired from the Indiana State Police 29 years, so I know that sort of thing firsthand. So with all of that, and also when these structures are built, they are going to be on probably asphalt, if you will. Well, as Anita stated, there is a runoff factor. Where's that rain and snow else going to run off to? Is it going to run off to the north? Well, there's a house there. It creates a potential problem for the house. Is it going to run off to the west? Well, there's a neighbor right across the street. It's my sister, actually. That'll present a problem for her. If it runs off to the south, well, that's a vacant land, but that's privately owned. So that creates a problem for that privately owned property. So there's a mixed bag of problems. The attorney states, well, it's not big enough for anything else. Exactly. That's the way we want to keep it. That's exactly. It's not. You can take all 9 properties and it wouldn't comply with what the staff recommendation for the property. We know that, and that's what we want to keep it. We know that if we can keep it that way, we have a chance of maintaining the integrity of the residents. That's really all that we're asking. We've been before this commission or the Variance Commission many times, because that little 1/2 mile stretch of road draws a great interest on business. The paintball facility, which is, it goes south of the dead end, so it's really not a factor for us. But there was an event planning
facility that wanted to go at the end of the road. So you'd have to pass up all 9 properties to get to the event center. The variance board denied that. And we was all happy until they started holding weddings there last summer against the variance. They held, what, 5 weddings? For family members, they said. Really? When I asked the father of that owned the property, who the family member was that was getting married, he couldn't tell me. So they went against that variance. And finally, the variance people, they gave them a cease and desist letter to stop doing that. But they was going to do it regardless, even being turned down. This facility here, they all come in with great intentions that they will be kind neighbors, but they're not. They never are. IMI, who mined out the property for years behind our house. The triaxles, right down the street, 40, 50 miles an hour. We finally got the county to put up 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs on that street just for that reason. Dust everywhere, you can imagine in the summertime. We have 4 children that grew up on those streets, riding their bicycles and dodging those triaxles. So we understand what happens when these sort of things do creep into the neighborhood. And that's why Anita has fought it for 35 years. This will be the same thing. It'll come in, it'll have problems. And as the attorney says, well, these people just need to sell and move on. Well, that's cold. That's a cold profit game, is all that is. It's just sell your property and move on. No, the staff agrees with this. It's not big enough to put what they want on it. So it should be big enough. The staff recommends it. 5 out of 9, and really more than that, they just haven't showed that today. But 5 of the 9 people, 200 years, at least 100 years here, short of that. Say no, we don't want it. It has to mean something. I'm sure many of you listening would not want that next to you, next door to you. And you have the authority, the power to prevent that. But you guys, we dodged 69. We dodged eminent domain. They took a few strips of land here and there, but the residential structures stayed, all 9. And it's livable, it's fine. So we ask that you agree with the staff and you deny this. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
About 5 minutes left. If there's anyone else who wants to speak in opposition. Seeing as how there is none, petitioner, you have up to 5 minutes to address maybe some concerns, state maybe some other facts that were forgotten and or missed, what have you.
You want it back up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
So again, Eric Prime, representing petitioner, a couple of items. One, I want to be very clear on the record. I thought I was. I'm not telling you so they have to sell. My statement was, in order for them to fully realize the value of their ground, they will need to sell to a commercial or industrial user, which is what the county is already counting in that area. That's why the future land plan and the comprehensive plan all call for this area to be mixed use industrial, 0 residential. So don't shoot the messenger. All I'm saying is that's what's going to happen in the future. And the character of this, what is now a dead end cul-de-sac, and I'm sure it is very peaceful, particularly since the mining operation is ceased. That's going to be gone. That character is going to be gone on the frontage road because it will have traffic from the north and the south coming from 144 up to Smith Valley and Smith Valley down to 144. And that's where I was saying the whole character of this area is going to change when that happens. Now, all those folks are welcome to live there as long as they need to. They own the ground, it's their home, they can stay, they can do whatever they want, so don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying, once all of that road work gets done, it's not going to have the same character that it does, and they would have an exceptionally hard time getting a new residential user to come in and pay them fair value for their home as a home. So that was the point of that, but that also tells you something. Staff's report indicated that they didn't want us to spot reason, that multiple parcels should be coupled in order to reason. It said that in the staff report, and I believe staff made that point here, to rezone a larger area. The problem is, as you've heard from these folks, a lot of them don't want to sell. It may be a decade from now or more before any of those properties come on the market. And so what's my client supposed to do? Just sit there and wait? Because the county has already said this is an industrial area. Comprehensive plan says this is an industrial area. And we're not even going industrial. We're going B2, going neighborhood community area. And so that's a much less intense use or set of uses than an industrial rezone would be. We're not going there. So this is a community area, community neighborhood type of use. There is a piece here that we should probably talk about. That is on this concept plan. This is actually turned sideways. The north is to the right. The larger purple or actually kind of orange set of units is there, and that's what is requiring the variance tomorrow night. If we pull that whole section out, we don't even need the variance. The reason it's there is because we're going to do full masonry. These are not going to be sheds. These are not going to be metal sided, metal roof sheds. They will have full brick or stone block, and they will have asphalt shingle roofs. So these will not be shady looking storage units. These are going to be first class masonry storage units. The purpose for that longer stretch along there is that's the only site that has a house immediately adjacent. To the south, to the left, it's all trees and vacant ground. So that stretch of units actually serves as a buffer, because the folks to the north, when they look at that, it's going to be like a brick wall. They won't see into the units. They won't see people unloading and loading. They won't see the car traffic. They'll see the back of a brick wall and a little bit of a roof line all along that stretch. And so that's why that was proposed there. Obviously, yes, it does give them 5 additional units, but it also basically serves as a wall. So that's there. We are willing to remove that, pull that out, and then we don't even need the variance tomorrow night for the setbacks. So that's in play if that's something that's of use to folks or of use to the staff in terms of having a higher comfort level with this. But, and I would say, again, that's my client. They're willing to work with us to make this compatible with the area. But I think leaving it as is actually provides that additional buffer, and it will still be landscaping between the building and the north or the north property line. So you get both building and landscaping as buffer area. And I just wanted to point out as a final matter that
Board members have any questions for the petitioner? Thank you, Mr. Brown. Board members have any questions for staff? I do. No one else does. Michelle, David, on page 56, under the I-69 corridor plan, the senior future land use map, has that been incorporated into comprehensive plan? It has. Board members have any more questions for anyone? We'll close public comment on this case. And does anyone have anything they would like to say about this case?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Again, having a little trouble understanding what you're saying, but I did want to point out here that The next order of business, I think, is for the commission to entertain the redevelopment commission's recommendation for that White River Township area, which includes those areas. But aside from that, I fully understand the residents' opposition. And if you're ready for a motion, I'll make it.
A motion would be in order one way or another, if you would like to make one.
I make a motion to deny.
So just for clarification, Ron, is it your motion to recommend, make an unfavorable recommendation, excuse me, yes. Your motion to make an unfavorable recommendation to the commissioners?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll second that.
Bush with the second. Ron, that is your motion. Anything you'd like to add to it?
No.
Nathan, your second, anything?
No.
Anybody else on the board, anything to add? Chairman votes yes, and Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mr. Canary,
Yes.
Mr. Cantwell,
Yes.
Mr. Ketchum,
Yes.
Mr. Schilling, Mr. McCotterin,
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. That concludes tonight's public hearings. The next item of business on the docket, we have some old business. We have approval of orders for county economic development plan. And I think that we have a commissioner. I don't know if he's still here or not. Is he asleep? Right, yeah, you might as well.
Well, the place is cleared out.
That's just 59.
Okay, yes. You have that. You have the RDC. You have to. I'll be right back.
Smaller piece of paper. Yeah.
All right. For the record, Kevin Walls, Johnson County Commissioner. I'm in front of you tonight for some declaratory resolutions for 2021 1A for the I-69. You have a map in front of you with the I-69. The big one. You've got everything else in front of you. Do you have any questions? Some of them make it real easy. It's been a long night. And I haven't even been in here.
We said that was.
No way. You can ask me questions.
You want to go through the timeline? Would that be helpful?
He's presenting this to us.
You can present any more?
If they got questions about it, I mean, we just.
I might, help out.
Move it on.
This is the first time that they've been through this.
Okay.
The
We'll let
county,
Stephen do it. He's very good.
as I understand it, is desiring to create what's commonly referred to as a TIF district. Actually, it looks like 2 TIF districts. You're very familiar with that. One on the west side of the county along 69, and one on the east side along 65.
We're not gonna call it the 65 corridor, we're just gonna call it the east side.
Okay. All right. Part of the process for creating an economic development area in the TIF district involves the planning, but it's more or less a 5-step process. It starts with the redevelopment commission adopting an declaratory resolution. You were provided a draft version of that, which I presume was adopted earlier today by the redevelopment commission.
Yes.
Okay.
With some changes.
Okay. That's actually a little bit, that's the order that the planning commission will get, being asked to approve. But continue on. The first step is the redevelopment commission adopting a declaratory resolution. We provided actually 2 different declaratory resolutions, one for each area. Yes. And then the second step in that process is to provide those resolutions to the planning commission and ask them to determine whether or not the declaratory resolution and the plan for those areas is consistent with the plan for development, i.e. the comprehensive plan for the county. And once that's done, it then goes to the commissioners. And then once the commissioners have approved it, it then goes next back to the redevelopment commission for a public hearing, which is the 4th step in the process. That also includes having to provide various legal notices to the taxing units and so forth that are affected and impact statement. So they have a public hearing after notice, and then the 5th step is the redevelopment commission making a final confirmatory resolution for each of these, confirming that yes, indeed, the county does want to do this. That's the summary process, and you're the second step. This plan commission is the second step in that process. Now, I think what would be helpful to understand from the plan commission, the maps. Normally, you would expect to see some sort of boundary that identifies the area in question, and so maybe you can help with these maps to explain what we're talking about in that respect.
Okay, on your big map, your 69 map, the red parcels are outlined, and those are the ones that are included in the EDA on that I-69 corridor.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's where we see like a sign, like the light blue line, those are the roads that connect to the parcels that you can take this.
Okay, so you're therefore legally or technically including the roads as part of the EDA.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then you want to do 65 next, or you want to stay on 69?
You got any questions about 69?
Are these resolutions, are they the same treatment? I mean, I know the wording is going to be a little different in location, but as far as the meat of it, are they the same or are there differences?
The only thing different is the locations and parcel. The only thing different is the location and parcel.
Other than that, the meat of it.
The meat of both resolutions are both the same.
And yeah, you're going to say what I'm going to say.
I'm glad you brought that up because there was something different from the east side version, at least in the draft. And I don't know if that was intentional or not. It included a designated taxpayer designation. And you may want to explain that if that is.
I'm not really RDC counsel.
Well, was that in the final version that was adopted?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, what might be sort of helpful because it kind of gets to the point of it. Second. In the east side version, it identifies a designated taxpayer, and what that does is it allows TIF to be captured on personal property. Not personal property tax assessment not just real property. It's a bit of a different, application of the TIF, tool.
You get my vote too. Pardon me, my vote.
I get your vote?
Well, no,
Can I
no, my
have a
vote,
vote?
you know, vote, get on my. Yeah.
Tractor, right, yes, there you go. Sorry. And in this case, the east side identifies both Roy, and I'm reading from section 11 of what was to be the fourth page then. Designates both Roy Umbar and Sons Inc. and RMJ Partnership LLC as designated tax. Is there anything you want to say about that?
Those are the only two really developments in this area. Period, to this point.
That
This is all for future use. Preemptively doing something.
Getting in front of it instead of staying behind it.
the other thing that I noticed, what was provided to us was a single draft order. And I assume maybe you guys
I thought you
somehow
had two.
didn't get the second one, but we ought to have two.
You should have picked two.
Okay, you have two?
So I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Have you spoken with Mr. Umbarger? Explain to him this?
I have not had a personal discussion.
Has anyone, I wonder?
Not yet.
Is this the new milling facility?
Yes.
South of 44. What's the RMJ at?
Probably right next door to it. We have
Is that the
split this
same?
up. Let me explain something to you. On this RDC board, we've split these districts up into different, certain people boards to certain areas. Okay? I worked on the 69 portion of this. There were a couple that worked on the Clark Township and Franklin Township areas. So some of these questions I can get you answers to if you come to an impasse tonight that you cannot decide to move forward, if you want to come back in a different meeting. She's getting some more paperwork, it sounds like somehow you guys did. This thing changed a little bit today. So
Maybe you can just identify what has changed.
the only thing that changed, the 69 corridor, this west side corridor, is still going to stay just as it is, as presented to you. This one over here, the east side changed. We're going to make inclusive all of Clark Township because it is easier, and I think Stephen can say this, to remove parcels out instead of adding parcels in. So we can remove those out. It's just a broad scope right now, and it really is not going to affect anybody until development comes.
So, just because I don't know anything about much, but, so it doesn't, is there any effect on the current landowners, farmers, people living there? They will see no change in what they're doing. But it only affects commercial or industrial development.
In development areas, yes, it will affect.
Any of
When
the
they sell,
areas-
put it this way, when they sell their farm ground, that's when it affects.
Okay, when any of the areas in the red,
Yes.
right?
But when you're listed, checklist, it mentions taxpayers and you talk about machinery or equipment.
That would be for the Umbarger and our,
Only for those, or
J,
you have to be construed as,
that was only on the east side corridor. It wasn't on the west side, because there's been nothing developed in these areas on the west side.
what's going to differentiate between.
There's real property already on the, there's real property already on the east side. Does that make sense?
What if I want to go out there and build a home facility, or some kind of cattle feeding facility or something, am I going to be? What if I want to expand the farm that I've got now, is that equipment going to be in that?
No, I mean,
Well, I mean, it says taxpayer, that's why I didn't know that it differentiated out about size or what?
that's a real good question, and I don't have a fair answer for you, so I'm not going to give you that. Stephen might be able to weigh in on that and give you a better, clear answer on that.
Ask me your question again, please.
Well, I own property, yeah, I don't, but if I did own that, and I want to improve, and I want to expand, double size, whatever, and I buy new machinery, is that gonna be the same as?
That will not have any impact on your ability to do that or the effect on you. If you do that.
Won't be tax different than?
You tax the same whether or not this is in existence or not.
Like the company I work for is in that, it's a soil sampling company, it's a commercial company. If he decided he wanted to build a second farm and operate out of it right next door to it, you know, he's been there for a while, then with that additional big building, be taxed at a different rate than it would before. No, because he's not selling or acquiring property or anything like that.
The selling and acquiring property really has no bearing on whether or not you pay more or less tax, with the exception of just how generally assessments work. If you sell property for a lot more than what it's assessed, well, next time it gets assessed, it's gonna be at that purchase price. And I think you understand that's gonna apply anyway, whether it's in a TIF district or not. I'll try and just summarize how the TIF tool works. It's really a financing. And when a property is designated to be a TIF district, and I'm using the word TIF district because everyone's familiar with that, right, in the technical terms. So when it's designated a TIF district, what it does is it freezes, in a sense, the assessed value that the underlying taxing units get to apply their tax rate. And so let's just say there's $1 million of AV assessed value in that area as the base when the TIF district is first created. Then all the underlying taxing units continue to have the ability to apply their tax rate to that $1 million. But when a new development comes along, and maybe it's a big development, it's $10 million in new development, well, that $10 million gets captured by the redevelopment. $10 million of assessed value, clear. It's captured by the redevelopment commission. All the other, ends up being a total of 11, right? 1 plus 10 is 11, $1 million. The underlying taxing units continue to have the, all the revenue that comes from that $1 million of assessed value with the tax. But the extra 10, it's, and the tax rate that's applied to that and the revenue that's generated from that. Instead of it getting allocated and funneled back to the taxing units, instead goes to the redevelopment commission to apply in general purposes to be able to fund these various infrastructure improvements.
Is it the same or a different tax rate?
Same rate. Same rate. So again,
so that affects really the user.
The user,
where the money goes.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
And I understand that, but if, okay, so you have a big development comes in and they're gonna put 100 new jobs in these something. And people are gonna move into this area. Then our schools, then does that affect, they're gonna get what they were based with, and they're not gonna get anything of this to help them offset what new they might need. Or schools or fire departments or libraries or
right,
local government or whatever.
The kind of gets into some of the technical budgeting and tax rate setting. Kevin, you may want to chime in here.
I'll let you. You're doing fine.
In that most tax rates, and including schools now, there was a change in the law very recently, are levy controlled. What that means is the state is going to look at how much do you need, and we'll make sure you get what you need in a sense. And if we need to jack up your tax rate a little bit to do that, we will do that so that you get what you need. But that's kind of that's the levy control way of doing things. There are some taxes or tax rates that are rate controlled, which is totally different. Which for rate control taxes, it does make a difference if it's in a district. But in general, rate control taxes are very minimal, and schools don't use them. So it really doesn't make a difference. And yes, in this is limited in duration, TIF district, to 25 years from the date first debt is assumed or issued. Okay.
You have to assume that for this.
Right. Yeah, the clock doesn't start until some sort of debt is issued.
Could a legal drain be considered a benefit of something like this? If that infrastructure needed improvement?
Well, I call them the drainage, in my view, and I think drainage was part of what is in your plan. I mean, if it's going to be
money that hasn't been established yet.
capital improvement, this one is the I-69. You have one for the I-65? All right, okay, good.
So that's a yes?
Might say probably.
Well, it could be used for infrastructure upgrade.
Don't those have to be presented and asked for?
If you, the easiest way to explain this, once you garner any income from this, if you've got that company that wants to come over with 100 people, they need a sewer to it.
Yeah.
Or they need some kind of storm drains to it.
Oh, really?
They need something, this money can be used for that.
Related more than.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, there's no mechanism in place right now.
Oh, yeah.
But to the individual taxpayer, this really doesn't, you don't see, I guess you really don't see it.
Are there any safeguards to make certain that the money will be there if needed? You know what I'm asking?
Well, you can't spend outside your means.
No, I understand that. I mean, I'm saying like in your example that you just gave, say there's a company, whatever, a widget factory that wants to come in and they need A, B, and C as far as infrastructure upgrades. Is there any assurance that TIF money already collected will be there to be able to help provide that?
That would be at board discretion to make sure that financing is there.
Okay.
And the board has the authority to write a bond for anything with guaranteed funds. As Steve, you can go into the weeds as deep as you want on this, and it just keeps getting deeper.
Yeah.
So we could sit here and discuss and debate all night long about situational. I mean, you guys have already got to go, you can go on, so why not finish it off? Needs to be here about 20 minutes, so.
Charlie, since you did raise the question, and I think it's fair to clarify, when we talk about the impact on tax, on tax, in general, the answer is no, there is no impact. They're going to pay the same. There is a little bit of nuance to that in that tax rate might, depending on what happens, might go up or down. Well, they're asking for, they're asking for you to approve the two orders that have been provided to you. One being the order for the I-69 area and the other being the I-65 east and west.
East and west, yeah, the first one is.
And we'll take the 69 first.
Then I'll go through, I'm gonna go through this.
Okay.
Eastern with you a little bit, make some statements here, just the 69, back to the first one. 2021, gosh. I'm just reading that. What's in front of me?
Just the order on 69.
Yeah, the
You want
order
to
on
do that
69.
Okay.
The substance of the order on 69, you can provide that, is that you are stating that the declaratory resolution and the plan for that area, meaning all the parcels that are identified there, conform to the comprehensive plan of development for the county. You're also saying that the declaratory resolution and the plan are in all respects approved. And the last thing is, so that's really what that order is. It's being requested to provide.
I mean, most of
I would ask one more thing, in a technical or procedural in a sense. The declaratory resolution references an exhibit A that is a map, and we have a map. It also references a list, parcel. Do you
I
have?
thought you had the list. Do you not have a list?
No.
Do you want the list? It's many pages.
It's many pages of parcel.
Okay, and my main reason for asking the question is to make sure it exists.
It exists. I think you promised. It exists.
We have.
And it's going to be attached to the
It
official.
absolutely will.
Or the sign.
Does every landowner in this get notified before the final approval?
I mean, there's not like a specific process to
No.
notify them, but there's a public hearing that will be noticed so that they have an opportunity to be heard.
I know there are some circumstances in which the property owners have to be notified, but I think that's when you expand. And we're not expanding in this case.
We're just making the original resolution. This is the first one out of the box.
So, yes. Can I make a motion to approve this?
Okay,
Second.
This would be for the, we already do. You want them done separately?
Two separate if you can. I want to go through a little bit more with the west side.
Was Greg the second on that?
Yes.
Greg Penwell was the second, Adam was the first. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about? Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Cantwell,
Yes.
Ketchum,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
It's late, I'm sorry. Okay, so the 69 or the west is good. Mr. Walls has something you would like to speak about
For
on
the
the east?
on the east side, you will see, this was just changed today, that we encompass all of Clark Township, all parcels in Clark Township, which we have that paperwork right here if you want it. But I didn't think you did. But I just wanted to make sure it's not true to this map, because this map has been outlined in red, which you can see in Franklin Township and Neal. All that's taken care of. Clark Township is not on this map outlined in red, and that was just declared today and on, so we haven't had a chance to put that onto this map.
So the maps that have been handed out are not.
They are not correct. Everything in red is going to be in this,
Yes.
but part of Clark Township or all of Clark Township is not. They only did a corridor down. It was a miscommunication.
But all of Clark Township is going to be.
Yes, it's all of Clark
Easier to
Township,
remove.
Plus, yes.
all of Clark
It's easier to
Township
remove
plus
than this
this,
map.
and there's one parcel in Pleasant. On the record.
That would be everything east of 55.
No, because it comes all the way around to 44 and southern Franklin.
Did you see this one? It comes all the way down.
That one does, but I mean, the Park Township.
Yes, Clark Township will encompass all of Clark Township.
All of them.
Yes, plus one. Do you want this, Stephen? Do you want this parcel number?
This is my
One in Pleasant Township. And that is a true number, true parcel. It is in Pleasant Township.
I don't necessarily need that.
But that's gonna be part.
It'll be part of the,
Yeah.
Should it be in
What
the
about
record?
Clark Township and Marion? That's still us.
I'll get you a copy of it if you need it.
that's a real good question. I don't have that answer. Stephen, did
What
you-
about
About one.
have you weighed in on
Clark
that?
Township goes to Marion County?
I wouldn't think
No, it
that
has
it
to be
would
in Johnson.
be.
Has to be in Johnson.
I don't see how.
It must not be
No, it's not.
a corner lot or something.
Yeah, I think there's a very small part of Clark Township.
Yeah, you, actually, it relates to another clarification I was gonna make. I think what you probably were saying when you said all of Clark Township, all of unincorporated. Clark Township.
Unincorporated, sorry. Yes. It's not part of Greenwood. So
And that would help answer the question. Anything in Marion County is going to be part of incorporated. Yeah. And you can't add that to.
Yes,
I move to approve this resolution.
Actually, it's not even a number.
Okay.
It's the order. Approve the order
Oh, the
of
order.
approval for the license product.
Okay.
second. It's already been seconded.
Oh, that's it.
I did. Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mr. Mary,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Ketchum,
Yes.
Mr. Schilling. Yes. Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Mr. West,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh, you're good.
Welcome to the presentation tonight, I can tell you that.
Did just fine. Okay,
You guys still got more to go?
yes, yeah.
You sure you want to chat some more?
So now we are on to new business. There are a couple of things that are not on the agenda that we're going to talk about. Dan Cartwright is no longer a member of the Johnson County Plan Advisory Commission. Chairman is recognizing his resignation. Do not have full paperwork, but I am going on record to recognize his resignation. It was advised to him by legal, not our legal per se, but my town of Edinburgh's legal, that he not be a participant in any boards on the council. He is going to be the town manager of Edinburgh. With that being said, we are, as a board, are going to have to select a new chairman. The commissioners, who Kevin is here on as a commissioner, are going to have to make a new plan commission appointment. And we also, as a board, will have to make a new BZA appointment. We are going to meet again for the March BZA meeting. So it's going to give everybody a little time if need be, but we are probably going to have to at least, if nothing else, Stevie can step in if you want, but I would say if nothing else, we're going to have to at least elect the chair of this board if we don't do anything else until March, because somebody in March.
We've got three things that need to be done, which are placing your BZA appointment.
Correct, but that doesn't have to be done today, because alternates are been called.
Okay, good.
Well, so then we either have to go with 4 members tomorrow, which I just say do that. Just tell me when everything is. Whatever you want. I mean, really, I mean, unless we think we can come up with something in the next hour, then we can do it now. I don't care either way. Whatever's easiest for everybody else, Pete, Ron, speak up if you got anything.
We might, you can let the commissioners make their appointment, and that person might be one that you would want to consider for the BZA.
What are your thoughts, Pete?
I don't know. I'd like to listen, listen more to the options, I guess. I don't know.
You want to go on the BZA, Pete?
Negative.
Come on, it's fun.
That's the reason I think it might be prudent to let the commissioners replace Dan with somebody that that might be a good candidate for the BZA. I don't think there's anybody on here right now that wants to go on the BZA. That thing's like being on the school board.
I agree with Ron. Kevin? Yeah. Kevin, can we ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Can we get your thoughts on this?
Yes, sir.
Since you are a commissioner and you're going to be part of the appointment
Yes.
for a new member?
What's the question?
The question is, what are your thoughts?
Hold on. I know that I put it out today. I had a conversation with Mr. Cartwright today. He told me he was resigning. I had instructed Ron, so you know, Sheena today to re-advertise that position to the general public. So we're gonna put another advertisement out for a planning commission, and I think either that person can double as that BZA appointment also. So that'd take a special person, so to be able to do that. So we've got names and applications so far, but we'll put it back out to public and see.
Okay.
And I think it would take some weigh-in from your board or the chairman and your council to talk about whoever we make that appointment. Because we're wanting to make it work, not make it
Right.
an obstacle for you.
Do you feel like, I feel like, but I don't know, do you guys feel like it's something that can be done before the March meeting?
What do you think, Ron? Do you think we can get, yeah, they'll put it out for advertisement, most likely tomorrow, or the next day, for the job position or the appointment. And, you know, you gotta get somebody, you gotta see what kind of candidates you get. So.
Is there a requirement?
I can't answer that. Do you know if Dan Cartwright had a required political affiliation?
I don't know.
He's the Republican.
No,
Dan was Republican.
I'd have to look, believe me, we've got a long list of appointments.
No, I know.
We'll have to look. I don't know what, if it would have been under Republican.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to replace with Republican. Right. So that would be my guess right now. I haven't seen the paperwork.
So my thought on new business is that we, at least if nothing else, we need to come up with a new chair for the planning commission. We're not doing anything else. I would think that everything else would wait until March. Hopefully we'll have answers. But I would think if nothing else, at least like a chair, so that we will have someone to orchestrate the meeting on March. Everybody else is probably.
And also vice chair. Is you a vice now or you chairman?
On vice. I'll stay vice.
I use that even when we chair next month.
Well, the problem that we ran into is that I am the current chairman of the BZA. So by me being chairman of both of those boards, I don't necessarily know that would look 100% correctly in the eyes of the public. I personally, obviously I'm going to be a little biased, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I don't have any opposition to doing it, other than the fact that I don't want to create any problems for the commissioners or the county in general. So I would just assume that didn't happen. If it came down to it, I spoke with Chris Campbell, who some of you might be familiar with. He is the vice chair of the BZA now. And I spoke with him today for a little while, and he would be willing to take on the role of the chairman of the BZA if I got hoodwinked somehow and got put into the position of the chairman of the planning commission. That being said, I would really rather not. I would like to see someone be willing to step up and do it. It's only going to be for 9 more meetings, and then we'll have to pick somebody else. But you know, if somebody is willing to do that, Pete or anybody else, that would be good. Everybody's quiet all of a sudden. It's quiet as it's been all night.
Chad, if you want to stay on the BZA, I'll take it just for an interim period. if I could do that. I'm not sure I could do that as commissioner, but at least, for the next meeting or two or whatever, and then maybe somebody'd want to step up or whatever. If I could, let me just say this, if I can help through a short period of time, I'll be happy to do it.
Well, Ron, I appreciate your willingness to do that. I would say that technically speaking, there's no prohibition, but I think from an appearance standpoint and kind of keeping things separated, and with the current pending Eagle Springs plat, which you're recused on, I think that makes it more difficult for you.
I agree. I agree 100%. I'm glad you took me out of it.
That was a calculated play.
Is someone else over here volunteer?
Well, we're trying to bid Nathan's farm down here for something. Can you just keep it for another month? I'm going to defer to council on that, because if I would do it. I have no problems doing it, but at the same time, like I said, I don't want to have any chance of putting a stigma and or a black eye or any. I don't want anybody to have to say anything about it from the public.
Would you rather?
You guys can say whatever you want.
Would you rather do the commission for the BCA?
No.
I'll do the chairman since, I'm appointed by the extension board anyways, which is kind of a calendar year. And at that point, I could be removed.
And Nathan, I will stay vice chair and I will help you any way that I possibly can. If you can't be here, I'll do it. Because I don't think it would be at that point, I don't think it would be a conflict, because tonight I'm doing it. And it's just because of the circumstances, you know what I mean? So.
Next month.
I nominate Nathan Bishop.
I second.
I was gonna say, you guys better hurry it up right there. It's better, you're
So we have a nomination for Nathan Bush to be the new chairman of the Johnson County Plan Advisory Commission. And it has been seconded. Yes. All those in favor, use your usual voting sign. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nathan Bush is now the chairman of the Johnson County Planning Commission. Okay. So I guess then we'll hear hopefully in the next month about the BZA appointment or the other planning commission appointment and possibly a BZA. We're gonna have to decide as a board, obviously, for a BZA appointment, but let's see who the commissioners come up with.
We'll let you know. We have some names on file.
I can tell you guys don't really know what you're missing out on with BZA. You have no idea. You can't really take my word for it, it's experience. You know?
Move to adjourn.
Nice thing about
Motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Okay.